lives. Let's create lives. Moment and space lives. Got the that has a body. It's a very tough body. He looks good. Moment and space lives. Moment and space lives. Magic underwear fitting tight. Magic underwear is feeling right. Face it. Space it. Moment, space wise. Moment, space wise. Let's create lives. Thoughts of cola. I would like to have intimacy with you on the planet of Naboo. Space wise, magic underwear. Where? Right there. Moment and space wise. Moment and space wise. Got the that's a body. It's a very tough body. He looks good. Let's create lives. Magic underwear fitting tight. Magic underwear is feeling right. Face it. Space it. Face it.
Has you had tonight?
Here's my question. Do y'all think people that go to an academy is smarter than people that go to a university? I'm just talking about in the academy.
Girl, I guess it just depends on how much friends you had tonight.
I did like 4.
Girl, how much Franzia has you had tonight?
Here's my question.
You want to come after 4 Franzia tonight in here, girl? And you trying to talk academy against university? Homie, don't play that.
Here's my question. Do y'all think people that go to an academy is smarter than people that go to a university? I'm just talking about in the academy.
How much Franzia you had tonight?
I'm just talking about in the academy.
Girl, I guess it just depends on how much frenzy you had tonight. What are you gonna do if I say to you, the true church isn't the papal church or whatever? The true church is Chicano church, bro.
Cholo church.
Cholo church is the only true church. And how could you refute me or whatever? It's exclusivism, bro. Chicano church, bro.
Cholo church.
Cholo church is the only true church. And how could you refute me or whatever? It's exclusivism, bro. What's up, bro? Hey, fool. I'm mute or whatever, dude. Hey, dude, like I went to Victory Church one time or whatever, and I seen the holy tamale in the sky, bro. And it converted me. Chicano church, bro.
Cholo church.
Cholo church is the only true church. And how could you refute me or whatever? It's exclusivism, bro. Chicano church, bro.
Hey, fool.
Cholo church is the only true church. And how could you refute me or whatever? It's exclusivism, bro. Chicano church, bro.
Cholo church.
Cholo church is the only true church. And how could you refute me or whatever? It's exclusivism, bro. Chicano church, bro.
Cholo church.
Cholo church is the only true church. And how could you refute me or whatever? It's exclusivism, bro. I'm mute or whatever, dude. But listen, what are you gonna do if I say to you, the true church isn't the papal church or whatever? The true church is Chicano church, bro.
Cholo church.
Cholo church is the only true church. And how could you refute me or whatever? It's exclusivism, bro. Chicano church, bro.
Cholo church.
Cholo church is the only true church. And how could you refute me or whatever? It's exclusivism, bro. What's up, bro? Hey, fool. I'm mute or whatever, dude. Hey, dude, like I went to Victory Church one time or whatever, and I seen the holy tamale in the sky, bro. And it converted me. Chicano church, bro.
Cholo church.
Cholo church is the only true church. And how could you refute me or whatever? It's exclusivism, bro. Chicano church, bro.
Hey, fool.
Cholo church is the only true church. And how could you refute me or whatever? It's exclusivism, bro. Chicano church, bro.
Cholo church.
Cholo church is the only true church. And how could you refute me or whatever? It's exclusivism, bro. Chicano church, bro.
Cholo church.
Cholo church is the only true church. And how could you refute me or whatever? It's exclusivism, bro. Cholo church.
Let's create lives. Moment and space lives. God the Father has a body. It's a very tough body. He looks good. Moment and space lives. Moment and space lives. Magic underwear fitting tight. Magic underwear is feeling right. Face it. Space it. Moment, space wise. Moment, space wise. Let's create lives. Coca-Cola. I would like to have intimacy with you on the planet of Naboo. Moment, space wise. Magic underwear. Where? Right there. Moment and space lives. Moment and space lives. God the Father has a body. It's a very tough body. He looks good.
Stole some Sumerian technology that allowed them to predict outcomes, and that technology stopped working in 2012. We're going to get into that tomorrow. I find it to be fascinating. I wonder if they saw Charlie Kirk.
Black kings, black bishops, black players, people of the chocolate persuasion. Black kings, black bishops, black players, people of the chocolate persuasion. Black kings, black bishops, black players, people of the chocolate persuasion. Black kings, black bishops, black players, people of the chocolate persuasion.
But the Dark Ages was a time when black people ruled Europe. So when you go into the real history, you'll see King James was...
That's King James right there. That's James LeBron. That's King LeBron right there.
black. He was not a white guy. You'll see his whole lineage of kings.
Black kings, black bishops, black players, people of the chocolate persuasion. Black kings, black bishops, black players, people of the chocolate persuasion. Black kings, black bishops, black players, people of the chocolate persuasion. Black kings, black bishops, black players, people of the chocolate persuasion.
Who was a homosexual himself, who was in love with his sister Lucretia, who they made the image of Lucretia to be Mary. And that became the Renaissance era. Lucretia.
So hold on, you telling me Lucretia? That's a black name.
That's a black as hell.
How you gonna say that the people that was framing the black people were also black? That don't make no sense.
That don't make no
Lucretia's
sense.
a black as hell name. Lucretia. Church even allowed it, you know what I'm saying? The church allowed for straight pimping. But that have been suppressed.
That have been suppressed.
That have been suppressed. Listen to my brother. In the 1500s, it was legal to be a pimp. Black kings, black bishops, black players, people of the chocolate persuasion.
Yo. By the way, shout out to Dr. Evo with yet another amazing Mormon Space Wives remix. The remixes just get a top and a higher tier of the other ones, one after another, just climbing the wall to infinity, the infinity sphere. This one was a banger, dude. And this one is no AI. I mean, we got to admit, not a huge fan of the AIs, but the AIs have been kind of bangers. That's my occasional exclusions here, right? For Mormon Space Wives and a couple other instances. But hey, this one, shout out to Dr. Ozzy, because it's no AI, son. It's straight up Dr. Ozzy with his musical genius, tearing it up. Dude, this is so like dark punk wave, whatever. This is so new wave. I feel like I'm a bat in a cave listening to this.
Mormon space lives. Let's create lives. Mormon space lives.
It's all good. What the hell going on? Y'all hear me now? Input all the way up. You should be able to hear me. Everybody hear me? Is it good? Did you hear the songs? The Mormon Mossad agents attacking the stream. Okay, good. It doesn't sound like a boomer tech fallacy, because it sounds like y'all was messing up. The internet did a hookup. The internet did a hiccup. Can you hear this?
Mormon space wives. Magic underwear fitting tight. Magic underwear is feeling right. Face it. Space it.
That's what I'm talking about. Shout out to Dr. Ozzy. So as I was saying, I don't know what you didn't hear, but No AI in that one. That one's all straight up human ingenuities. Appreciate Dr. Ozzy on that. That one's fire. Yo, that's fire. Listen, I'm not in a too much of a serious mood. We're going to cover some serious things because apparently Father Hears have just gone on to David Peckerwood stream. He went over there to talk to Peckerwood. And I don't know how that's going or what's going on. I got other things going in my life right now, you know what I'm saying? I got other plans, things I'm up to. Y'all know what's happening? Guess what? We about to go do a in-person interview with a A-list person. I'm just gonna call him A-list person. Might as well be. We're gonna be doing a hot stream, a hot interview that's gonna blow everyone's minds. It is a little bit of a drive, so we'll be gone for a couple days. But know that I am up to good, high-quality productions. Okay, we're raising the bar. You know what I'm saying? We're going to raise the bar around here. I'm getting tired of all of this boomer tech. I'm getting tired of all this nonsense. So guess what? I hired a crew. I hired a knowledgeable, technically adept millennial crew to come do this shit with me. You know what I'm saying? Because I ain't going to run all this tech shit. I'm a celebrity BIPOC e-diva. I'm not supposed to be running gadgets and turning knobs and pushing buttons and shit. Trying to run an abacus. I'm over there on the camera, son. I'm over there being beautiful. Okay? That's what's happening with me. And no, I'm not interviewing Pope Leo. And no, it ain't Joe Rogan. Keep guessing, son. When it comes to this interview, honey, ain't none of my tech involved. I farmed this shit out to the top Indian Verizon call people that I knew. I found some good boys at the call center. I called up my boy Sanjeet. I said, bro, can you do this interview? Yes, brother. Do not redeem the interview. And then I called up my buddy from Pakistani, Sandoop from Pakistan. I said, can you come do this interview? I need high-tech, skilled people, interviewers, so I can look pretty on camera. Use all of the AIs or whatever. Make me look beautiful. Touch me up. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm going to talk to A-list peoples. I can't be looking like a damn slob. I can't be looking like a ghetto bitch. I gotta look like a diva, dude. And that's what AI is for. That's the good use, the virtuous uses of AI. Now, if y'all want to help me and my Indian team crew go set this interview up, you can do so by supporting them with the super chats. You can send them pay piggies right here through, because listen, I'm trying to provide high quality, high tier content for y'all. Okay, we do stuff nobody else does. And by the way, this is going to be a show ain't nobody else done. I mean, there's one that's close to it, but this is different. Yo, we just hit different around here. We hit different. Keep guessing, son. Keep guessing. See, y'all ain't never going to guess it. Some of you will. It ain't Cat William. It ain't Greta Thunberg. Uh-oh, somebody guessing it right there. You want to support the show, though? Let's get the show on the road, y'all. Send some super chats. And let me pay this team of high-quality Indian millennials that I got recruited from the Verizon store. From the call center. Recruited them straight out of Pakistan and they're flying them over. I got to pay for them plane tickets. Okay? They flying on Cessnas right now, trying to land. Okay? It ain't Oprah or Hunter Biden, although you're close. Just kidding. It ain't Vanilla Ice. That's what I'm talking about. Y'all, there you go. Y'all getting generous. We got Magnanimity in the chat. Shout out to my boy Magnanimity. He's possessing all of these fools in the chat, bringing the cash. Y'all got to fund this trip now. Y'all know who it is. Some of y'all know who it is because you're regulars. You're regulars. It's not. No. Half of y'all just way off. You need to watch more. If you watch more, you would know who I'm talking about. This person don't grant many interviews. This is elite stuff, dude. Remember, we got marketing strategies and tactics. It's elite, okay? There's not a lot of this. I learned from the best. How do I monetize this content? How do I market to these people? I learned from the best. Let me remind you how these strategies and tactics go. You make it limited editions, right? Let's listen to my boy right here. How do I scale this shit and make it monetized?
When you drop something that's scarce, you're leaning on scarcity, limited edition, there's only a few of it. It drives the value and the hype of it up, and more people engage. Okay, so that is something else. In a strategic collaboration, you can use scarcity to drive the perceived value of what you're.
Damn, dude. Marketing. That's Gnostic esoteric marketing secrets, dude. Who would have ever thought that limited resources would make it more valuable? Damn, son. That's PhD, triple PhD marketing level secrets, dude. How are these secrets even being out here to the masses? Isn't that limited high IQ shit that should be behind a paywall? I feel guilty for even knowing this secret. I feel like I just need to pay Ruslan right now. By the way, this stream is not going to be freaking Ruslan. I'm tired of his face and his broccoli hair. I can't look at it no more. I will say, though, that shout out to my clipper. Yo, we got a team of clippers now. Shout out to Rhett. Rhett did a badass clip where he collected together Ruslan's dumbest lines. It was a genius clipping here. Shout out to Rhett. Good job, dude. I'm not gonna play it because we have. If I keep talking about Ruslan, I'm just gonna my hair is gonna start curling. My hair is gonna start getting nappy as hell. I just can't talk about it no more. So I'm gonna let y'all. You can go watch Rhett's brilliant clipping of Ruslan's dumbest lines within 16 minutes. 16 minutes of big R fails. I'm in the mood to have fun tonight. Don't y'all want to have some fun? Now, listen, we do have fun on every stream. I mean, even when we roasting these suckers, these sucker MCs, it's still fun as hell. Was the mosque shooting a psyop? I have not looked at it yet. That's anonymous, saw $10. Who knows? But I wouldn't be surprised because I did see immediately articles are going up saying that this was allegedly a young Hispanic man who supposedly was involved in the online fake cutout Adam Waffen groups. So, I mean, if that's true, yo, I'm immediately sus, dude. I'm immediately auspicious. I'm getting auspicious of this. That's raising my auspicions. Man, you play too much. Man, y'all audience, y'all play too much. All right, we're not here to talk about Ruslan tonight. Although I may look and see what is going on in the Father Peter Here stream. Now, this was interesting. We don't have a lot of lizard people talk over here on this channel because we don't go David Icke level. We think that's retorted, right? But it is interesting that we got something that the lizard talk crowd loves to talk about. This weird faced dude, okay, looking like a damn meth head version of Mr. Clean, went on Fox News. Who the hell is even this dude? And he was looking like a Heaven's Gate on steroids and meth at the same time, staring at everybody, looking all weird, as creepy as hell, saying that that Iran has destroyed the Middle East. What? And his neck is glitching out, dude. And we're going to talk about backrooms and glitching out tonight too. I'm in a weird as hell mood. I'm in a goofy mood and a philosophical mood tonight. So it's going to get weird, y'all. It's a little different tonight. I mean, granted, it's a lot of fun to roast the retorted evangelicals, but I mean, I can't do that every stream, even though shit, we make $1,000 to $2,000 every stream roasting these retorts. It's definitely monetarily worth it, but I got to take a break from some of that. We got to do some other stuff. I don't like monotony. So let's look at this Heaven's Gate steroided up meth head over here. Watch this.
In the eyes of the Iranian people, but the world global economy, which they're holding all hostage to, the more everybody comes to realize this is all about the IRGC. At the end of the day, we're going to have to need a government in Iran that not only hands over the nuclear material, stops threatening the Straits of Hormuz, but quits exporting the Islamic Revolution throughout the region, causing the collapse of Lebanon, Gaza, Yemen, Syria, and as well.
So first of all, at the normie geopolitical level, what an utterly retarded assessment. Iran did not destroy the Middle East. I don't care about Ayatollahs, other than the Ayatollah of rock and roll. I mean, I'm not pro-Iran, but I'm also not pro-Zio warfare nonsense. So that's all false bullshit, boomer propaganda, right? Talking to the boomer tards out here, convincing them of the nonsense. But everybody is honing in on his flappy neck skin, right? Now, my first thought would be, it's probably a mask if it is real. The other thing too is it could be glitching from the camera. Sometimes HD digital feeds glitch like that, but it's throughout the whole interview or this whole segment. And also, it could be a mask, right? There are, Mission Impossible Tom Cruise masks. Remember that? If you watch Mission Impossible, they've always had the mask. That's all real, right? There's a whole book on this. Antonio Mendez, he's the CIA dude who makes the masks. So you can go watch the interviews with that dude. And then he goes and works for Hollywood because it's the same stuff, right? The Hollywood stuff is actually at times used by CIA for certain things at times. But why they would have this weird dude wearing I don't know. But it also could be AI, right? Somebody could just take this video clip, run it through AI. So pretty much a lot of video stuff like this is kind of like worthless now with AI. So who knows? It's fun to cover though. It's fun to look at. But I do not believe it's lizard people. All right. If you've ever watched V, I don't think we got lizard people. I mean, I think people could be possessed. But it's not full David Icke where they're wearing a skin suit and they're lizards underneath it, right? Have y'all seen V? I grew up watching V. And the hero of V, by the way, is a butthole. We almost got into a fight with Mark Singer at a comic book convention. I told the story a million times. I'm not going to retell that story, but a lot of times your heroes in real life, they be ready to fight you over a $5 autograph. So your heroes in the movies aren't always heroes in real life. Lesson number one. Now, this is a scandalous video. I mean, Dr. Evo and Ozzy, dude, they're just killing it, all this cringecore. I can't even keep up. Milk Dollar Pure is also killing it. KD Weld's killing it. Everybody's just killing it with cringecore. And I'm just kind of, on a daily basis, amazed. This one's a little scandalous, though. I have to say, a little bit of scandal in this. So, because they clipped me. They clipped me talking dirty. What? Yes, I got clipped talking dirty. Listen.
Why are you gay?
I'm married, dude. How could I be gay if I'm married? And also, how could I be gay if I identify as a diva, as a BIPOC queen? So you got me wrong. You don't even know your facts, son. You would get blown out of court bringing them falsities.
You are.
You think I'm gay? Why don't you call in and let's have a sexy talk, son? I'd love to talk to you right now. I'll talk dirty to you, son. I'll whisper dirties in your ear if you call in right now. You thinking I'm gay?
You are.
We'll find out who's gay. We'll find out who's the gayest. I'll talk dirtier than you, son. Dude looking for a date. Dude's date maxing on my stream.
Why are you gay?
Yo, I just had to address my scandal because I got exposed right there. Shout out to Dr. Evo for exposing me. I hope Ruslan gets a hold of that. Clip it, dude. Clip that shit, Ruslan. Expose me, dog. Anyway. Thank you guys. You're already being super generosity filled. Ooh, Pay Piggy. Give me one more super chance. Ooh, Pay Piggy. Now, we got reels to get to. Our good friend Tristana, always dropping them crazy reels, right? The great bigot of the internet, the secret king bigot of the internet, Tristana. We got so many reels I want to get to. We haven't even get to these dudes. People hipping me to these bad boys right here on the light working team. There's too much stuff to make fun of, dude. I don't know where to start. The light lords. I didn't know there was light lords. Did y'all? They got music too. Dr. Steve Greer going to teach us how to channel Ra. Ra. We can learn how to make money with Don LaPree. That's also an option. Do y'all want to make money? Learn how to get paid? Do y'all want to see some of the crazy reels, or do y'all want to get into my philosophy ruminations about the Backrooms tonight? What is on your mind? We've also got this awesome stuff, right? We got VHS movies to watch. What do y'all want to talk about first tonight? Do y'all want to get into light workers, VHS movies, my Backrooms philosophy, talking about the liminal space, son? Do y'all want to get into light working, channeling Ra? Y'all want a chakra max? Y'all know Osho can get up in that chakra. Do y'all want to talk about David Wood? What y'all want to talk about? Everybody want to talk about the back rooms. A lot of y'all gay as hell talking about the back door because of my scandal video you just watched, right? That's on that. That's within the alien sphere. That's adjacent to aliens, faking aliens. Everybody wants to talk about the back rooms. All right, look, I wrote some notes because I was thinking about this. I watched some good videos. And I've been thinking about this for a while. What is up with the Backrooms? Right now, we got this movie coming out, which I'm actually excited about. I think it's going to be a really good movie. And I am impressed with Kane and his skills. Kane Parsons, your boy Kane Parsons. Listen, you got Billy Corson and you got Kane Parson. Kane Parson, Billy Corson. Okay, that's how I feel. This trailer looks awesome, I have to say. And I mean, even watching Kane Parsons clips and videos, I was super impressed. I was like, this dude is skilled. Dude got a skill set, you know what I'm saying? And so I'll show you real quick. Something's wrong with the wall, right? He's doing a late night cleanup. He looks over there and there's a hole in the wall. And don't get upset. This black man works there. He's not there illegally. He's an employee. I know what you racist people are already thinking. What is this black man doing on the security? Is he on the security cams? He gets in there and he finds a hole in the wall. And then he walks through it. And lo and behold, it's the back room. It's the liminal space, son. What's the liminal space? The liminal space evolved out of creepy pastas and this idea on 4chan, Reddit, this kind of stuff, that there were spaces that you could no clip into. You could glitch out of reality into some alternate, infinite hell world, a sort of labyrinth, right? Of the corporate, nihilistic, empty space between worlds or between realities. The liminal space is from the Latin word that has to do with threshold. So an in between. I think also simultaneously with that kind of its own internet lore taking on a life of its own, you also had other films and popular books and things that popularized the liminal space, right? Stranger Things or Stranger's Thing, if you watched the last season. And that popularized the upside down, right? This other world, this other dimension, this other reality that is the negative space. It is a, perhaps a purgatorial sort of idea. There's a lot of parallels, right? And I also think it resonates with everyone because, well, I've got a whole list of reasons of my thoughts on it. It also resonates because of the emptiness of the corporate world, the cold, calculated corporate world and its nihilistic abandon, and the meaninglessness of a corporate lifestyle to attain corporate products that ultimately go out of style within 5 to 10 years anyway. So it's a sort of meaningless Ouroboros eating its own meaningless tail. And then the idea becomes, what if you entered that space of something like a stock footage video? What if you went into the world where stock footage was reality, but not stock footage of today, not a present day reality, but for some reason, always connected to, always grasping back to the 80s and the 90s. For some reason, everyone felt that the lore of the Backrooms and the liminal space was necessarily connected to the 80s and 90s. Why is that? Here are my theories. This is my thoughts. It is resonating with people because we are at a threshold of generations where people like myself, on the cusp of Gen X and millennial, as a Zennial, I remember the world prior to internet, okay? Prior to internet everywhere. The generations under me do not know that world. And that world was still essentially primarily human. I mean, tech was obviously beginning to invade our life with VHS, CDs, DVDs, etc. MP3 began to be popular in the late 90s, early 2000s. But your day-to-day did not include significant amounts of internet at all, unless you had some lame-ass dial. And then you could wait 20 minutes for a low-resolution picture to load up, right? Otherwise, you didn't spend a whole lot of time on the internet until the early 2000s, right? So we are remembering, there is still in the collective unconscious this memory of a time when there was a human realm, even at work, the corporate work part of your life. There was still this human element to where you had a limited time there. You went to a physical location. You had your own office. You had your own desk, etc. Right? Even when you started having cubicles, right? You still had your own space. You decorated it the way you wanted, etc. And even office space changed with the times to where you didn't have your own office. Everyone worked in an open space in the cubicles. And then the cubicles went away and you went to having open spaces. And then you have shared desks that you do, like at Verizon or whatever, right? So you've seen less and less individualism even within the workspace. It's all been homogenized and corporatized and made linear and made flat. And because the Backrooms are a labyrinth that has no resolution, that immediately expresses the nihilism of the modern corporate mindset and corporate world. But it's frozen in the 80s and the 90s because that was the period when there's the last remembrances of it being still human, right? So you have people's desks, people's property, their own expressions now completely erased. And in the back rooms, there's no people. So a human being is actually out of place in the corporate world or in this corporate dystopian hell dimension because it's anti-human. The corporate world had as its underlying engine and ethos an anti-human idea the entire time because the logic of it was everything is quantified, everything is quantifiable. It's inherently nihilistic and anti-natalist and anti-human. So it must, of its own logic, eventually eliminate all of the human and all of the particular and all of the individual to eventually just propagate itself as negating any of the commodities that it produced. And so the corporate space exists eventually to only perpetuate an anti-human, non-human corporate space with no objects or no products. Why? Because the ultimate goal of the monopoly attitude is actually to destroy all competition. And thus, the products that it sells, even after it's gotten rid of the humans, the products are no longer necessary. In other words, products were a means to an end. It was never about creating a better product. It was about creating the end of humanity. Thus, we look back on the threshold of a time when it was still human. We look back to the liminal spaces of the shopping mall, right? Perhaps shopping mall backrooms and liminal spaces are even more telling in this regard, right? I also have some theories too as to why this has become so popular online. I actually think the internet is itself the liminal space as well. I'll show you what I mean here with a couple of examples of this. Dead malls, right? The dead mall, as we like to call it, is an eerie corporate liminal space with its own aesthetic and vibe that now has no people and has no product and becomes this sort of ideological museum to a forgotten time and a forgotten way of being that we can remember, but also we can't remember because when you look at it without any people, and the purpose of the shopping mall was to sell the products, right? So to see it without humans and without products, it almost seems like a dystopian hellscape where what if the purpose of all this and its purposelessness was actually to produce a kind of purposelessness in the humans themselves? Now, I'm not saying that every mall owner, and I'm not trying to make some Marxist socialist critique or something like that's not what I'm saying here. I'm not a Marxist or a socialist, but I'm saying when you have a materialist capitalist society, and the same goes for Sovietism too, because they're both materialist, atheistic presuppositions. If you have a monopoly capitalistic society's presupposition about the attainment of meaningless corporate goods that also become meaningless within a few years because they're no longer trendy and they're not actually made to last, they're actually made to, through planned obsolescence, go away. It speaks to the emptiness of the cycle, right? Yeah, I've seen all of Kane's videos. Yeah, I think Day of the Dead and Chopping Mall, although they're goofy B movies, they actually have some of these deeper philosophical themes in them. And we did a whole analysis of Chopping Mall. If you didn't ever watch that back in the old days, we actually hit on some of that back when we did Chopping Mall. Because if you don't remember, the villain in Chopping Mall is like a Robbie the Robot version. It's like a Terminator, but it's like a B-movie version of Terminator. So it's like, yeah, here we go. See, now I hate it when it doesn't come up because we did a whole stream on it. Anyway, I can't think of the name of our stream, but yes, we did do Chopping Mall. I'll have to find it later, but so the liminal space speaks to all of these realities, and some philosophers have called it. I watched the guy's video on this; it was pretty good. I'll give you a link to that video in a second. Where it's just a guy who does sort of philosophical ruminations on YouTube, and I have disagreements with some of his assessments. He comes off as kind of an existentialist, sort of agnostic sort of character, but I did like some of his takes on the liminal space in the mall. And he noted that it's almost like, as some philosophers are calling it, a existential, how did he put it? He said it's industrial Gothic or corporate Gothic. So, go back to Gothic literature in the UK, and then in Victorian era, and then we have in the US, Southern Gothic with people like, Flannery O'Connor and whatnot, and Cormac McCarthy as well. But with the liminal space, you have a modernized version of corporate industrial Gothic, where the great horror is the meaninglessness of what was so meaningful apparently at the time, right? In the 1980s and in the 1990s. And the mall ones are really interesting. And again, remember, Stranger Things also, I think, played a huge role in this, because what was it, season 3? The whole season was about the mall, right? The dead mall being this sort of portal to the in-between, to the hell world. And so it becomes its own aesthetic, its own vibe. And this is Kane's channel, who originally sort of popularized a lot of these. And his videos, his, film school stuff was so good, and it became such a viral sensation over the last several years that they actually made him the director. So I think he's going to do well. I'm expecting it to be really cool. But if you go back to his older videos, and I think I've watched most of these when he was doing film school stuff, he did one here. This was the original Backrooms that's had like 80 million views, which is crazy. And it was a genius idea, right? To just kind of play around with looking into abandoned buildings or abandoned cargo stuff. And then you walk in and you find another reality, another dimension. And then people started getting more and more philosophical with it. And he was filming it with this sort of old school VHS look. But also people helped contribute to the lore, right? You had Reddit people, creepypasta people telling their own versions of the Backrooms. And then on top of that, you had TV shows that came out, probably also influenced by this, even though I know this was from a book, but Severance. Everybody said, what about Severance? Severance. I've been meaning to get to Severance for so long, but the reason that I haven't got to it is because I think there's so many other things that it ties in with, like the Backrooms and the liminal space, that it makes sense to kind of talk about them all together. Because in Severance, the premise is that you have an intentional process that you can go through where they split your consciousness so that you are MPD-DID, to have an innie and an outie. The innie being the person that is at the work world, and they have their own life in the work world, and they are split so that they don't know the life of the person outside of work. So it's actual like split, multiple personality disorder, but it's engineered by a mega corporation that does it to benefit supposedly the workers and to help production and all this kind of stuff. And I've seen season 1. I thought it was really good, and I'm about halfway through season 2. And it's interesting, but it also, I think, speaks to, even probably unknowingly, the elements of the actual MK Ultra projects and how they were studied and by how they were perfected by entities actually working for corporate structure, corporate interests. In other words, the Tavistock Institute, which was the first to really study MPDDID through studying shell shock, and then got all this money put into it through the Rockefellers. They brought in Carl Jung, brought in all kinds of people over the years to study and perfect social engineering and human control. That's ultimately what Tavistock is about. And what began as World War I wartime psychological operations actually turned into an entire global institute connected to MK Ultra, intent on engineering the human mind to be obedient and to be involved in groupthink. So they really pioneered and mastered groupthink, and they did it they were contracted out by not just the CIA, not just the US government, the Pentagon, but the Fortune 100, Fortune 500. So, for example, when you see people like Peter Drucker, who comes up with the business church model of Ruslan, and all these other people, from Rick Warren to Ruslan, business church model is this. It is Tavistock social engineering groupthink models of how to streamline the business side of the church to make it more efficient. Taylorism, etc. All the above, right? But to get back to the Backrooms and to Severance, which, because I haven't finished season 2, I don't exactly know where Severance is going to go, but it is also consciously alluding to the corporate MK Ultra elements within the show. And in the course that you can imagine in the story, it's a question of, well, do we really want to be divided against ourselves? Which is probably a kind of a Marxist line of argumentation, because Marx's whole theory of alienation includes the idea that you're divided against yourself and against your product and against nature through the corporate world. I'm not a Marxist, but I do think at times Karl Marx said some things that were correct. And I do think that at times, if you commodify everything, that would be the natural result, right? You would have man divided not just against other men, but also alienated from the work that he produces from his hands and also from nature. Thus, you'll notice in the Backrooms, the hellscape, the hell world of the Backrooms, there's never anything typically nature related. There might here or there be a plastic palm tree or a plastic tree, but usually there's not. Usually there's just variations on the corporate scape and the corporate hellscape, or the patterned versions of the way that they do hotels now, which are becoming more and more, if you haven't noticed, like hospitals. And the same with, and I know this because we've traveled a whole lot in the last 5 years and we've stayed everywhere, coast to coast, countless times. Hotels they don't have any flavor to them, right? The corporate ones. They all become a kind of representation of the exact same thing that you get in a hotel, in a hospital, and in a hospice, in an old folks home, and then also perhaps in a bank. And that's why we've all noticed this with McDonald's too, right? Suddenly all of the corporate businesses out there are gray. McDonald's is gray. Tons of fast food restaurants, they all have the same gray look. We went by a Barnes and Noble the other bookstores. It looked no different than a McDonald's with corporate Soviet gray. Isn't that interesting that what was Soviet brutalist architecture, supposedly the opposite of capitalism, right? The opposite of capitalism. Let's look up Soviet brutalist architecture. And it's like all giant concrete, it looks like nuclear concrete you know, bomb refuge type stuff. Like Chernobyl is no different than the freaking hotel, right? Like this, what was supposed to be a, you know, Chernobyl structure is basically the same thing as the hotel. Soviet brutalism in terms of architecture, right? Everything is gray, everything is ugly, and there's a reason for that because it expresses the philosophy of everything being streamlined and homogenized, because anything that's not streamlined for efficiency is purposeless. So to have decor, to have, you know, neoclassical Baroque styles, that would be a waste of money. It's inefficient. So you notice that corporate megastructure, monopoly capitalism's ethos is exactly the same as the Soviet brutalist ethos. Isn't that fascinating? And if you watch, I mean, look, that was like a damn Death Star or some shit. Just hideous, right? It's brutalist, it's dystopian. Now let's look at what does every McDonald's look like now? This, the same thing. A giant concrete block where you get your soy slop. Just hideous, colorless, worthless looking slop out of a giant concrete block. Come to the dystopian concrete block where all of the BIPOC persons will serve you your slop. And by the way, this is what boomers think you should go die for in other countries. So go die for Israel in the Middle East to get this, to make sure that we can put a McDonald's on every corner of Tehran. I don't know. Maybe Tehran already has McDonald's. But you see that this end goal of the corporate sphere is indistinguishable from the Soviet brutalist atheists, because they're all nihilistic. They're all atheistic in their vibe, in their ethos. And the Backrooms are basically expressing the same type of critique. Also, I think that if you remember Vaporwave, right? Synthwave, as Synthwave became popular, 10, 15 years ago, Synthwave is expressing an innate dystopian idea within it, because a lot of the art, a lot of the vibe of the synthwave was dystopian. In the 1980s and 90s, there were hosts of dystopian films, so they kind of became attached. They're adjacent to the milieu, the ethos of the 1980s, of its zeitgeist. And then it's only natural that what develops out of synthwave as a kind of first phase critique of corporate nihilism would develop vaporwave, right? And vaporwave gave us a critique of mall music, right? Corporate, meaningless, overproduced muzak. If you don't know, because you're young or something, in the 1980s and 90s, when you go to the mall or when you're in an elevator, they would have these specific types of stations or boxes called muzak, M-U-Z-A-K, right? And it was the corporate way to have all of your favorite songs in a non-copyrighted way. So it was like elevator music, and you might hear Kenny G, but it's the muzak version of Kenny G. So it's not the actual song. It's a voiceless corporate version of an actual pop song. Now, muzak existed earlier in the 60s and 70s, but I'm saying by the 1980s, muzak was doing, I don't know, you would hear Go West, but it would be the muzak version of Go West, right? So sounds for the supermarket, right? And so vaporwave was a layer of parodying all of this by turning it into a critique of itself, right? And probably everybody's heard of the Macintosh Plus, right? This was probably the biggest hit from this era of vaporwave critiquing this type of nihilistic, meaningless mall culture or corporate culture. And if you grew up in the 80s, you resonated with this very, very well, right? It hits you. Somehow there's something about it that makes sense because you're reminiscing and remembering a time when it was a very different world. So again, liminal space is hitting everybody so hard, not just because of nostalgia, but because we are on a threshold of moving into a world where the dystopia is actually rolling out. All of those 80s movies, all of those dystopian films and stories and novels and comic books, there was within the zeitgeist a prophetic sense that this is coming, that this will arrive. Now, you could say maybe there was an actual prophetic gift that art usually has, oftentimes has. We've talked about that many times. Or perhaps it was seeded propaganda in some of the blockbusters and productions. Who knows what the real total explanation was, but we are resonating with it, not just because of nostalgia, not just because of the past, but this is something that I've heard no one else say, and this is my thought. What if the controllers, the social engineers, the technocrats, what if they realized that to really destroy the peoples and the people groups, to corral them into the tech Skynet dystopia, what if the best thing to destroy, obviously I'm saying this includes God, the existence of God, all that stuff, sure. And yeah, they want to destroy the nuclear family. Yeah, I get it. I know all that. But nobody has talked about, what about destroying the past? What about wiping out and destroying the idea of the past? To have the dystopia, to have it successful, you must also wipe away any rootedness or groundedness of the past. And I don't just mean, oh yeah, the global elites go into a city, a place, they bomb it in the Middle East, they wipe out the past, and they set up, the McDonald's dystopia. I know that. But what about on an individual level? On an individual level, say a person who goes TRANZ. A person who goes TRANZ, say they're, hitting their era of puberty, or God forbid, even before. What is part of that ideology? Part of that ideology is there was no past. You were not actually born a man or a woman. You didn't actually have the upbringing that you had. You can erase all of that and immediately create a new identity for the here and the now. So the presupposition of all of the dystopia has to be a Maoist idea of erasing all the past. And this is something that they got from the communists and the Maoists and the Marxists. You must destroy the past. It must all come down. It is like The Giver. Yeah, all of the dystopian stories also do usually have some, we've hidden the past, right? Which is a version of destroying the past. But I'm just saying, whether it's the Backrooms and the idea that, oh, you don't need books anymore, just watch the YouTube videos. Oh, you don't need to watch YouTube videos, just watch the shorts and the TikTok brain rot. What is all of that about? It's all about squeezing the time frame smaller and smaller so that there's no past. In other words, within a video, you're not even remembering what you saw 20 minutes earlier in the video. You're only remembering a 60-minute clip, and you even forgot what the 60-minute clip was saying, or 60-second clip, what it was saying in the first few seconds. So the squeezing of the time scale smaller and smaller is also concurrent with nobody has a past. The past is being squeezed into the right now, just the now. The entire tech world and all of this is built on immediacy, efficiency, and immediacy. Why read a book when you could ask the AI to summarize it and give you a 1 sentence, a 5 sentence summary? Why do anything that isn't efficient? Why write a letter? You have an email. I'm not saying the tech itself is the problem. The problem is the more that everyone gets addicted to the ease and the immediacy, then the more that they begin to operate like an algorithm as human beings, refining everything down to what's efficient and what's not efficient. That, I think, is something that I've not heard anyone talk about in terms of, and I know it's Maoist. I'm not saying that there's not other people have talked about wiping away the past, but I'm saying it's not just wiping away the past from a culture or a person. It's wiping away the past for individuals, your own past. And there is no future. So we talk about, for example, God being an eternal present, right? There's no past or future with God. There's only the eternal now. This is like a synthetic tech version of God giving you a God mind, a fake mimicked, fake and gay God mind, where you believe that you're like the deity that only lives in the immediate present. And they have studied the communist dictators and their strategies for wiping away the past in the physical world. But what if they're wiping away the past from everybody in the mental world and in their own family world? Because families, for example, they have a story. They have a past, they have a present, and a future goals that they have as a family. A nation has a past, a present, and future goals as a nation state. But if everyone lives online in the virtual, and the virtual denigrates the past and tries to erase it and wipe it away, and to make everyone only focused on the immediate through the dopamine addictions of the scrolling, then what happens is everyone has a false godlike status of only living in the present, right? And as the Backrooms story progressed, as Kane made his videos, he started bringing in these hooded sort of science dudes, right? Because that's exactly what would happen in today's world. If there was some portal to another world or something like this discovered, why immediately the science men would come to try to explain it. And they would do their tests and they would begin to investigate the, early layers of the Backrooms and where they go, which is to say they go nowhere. They lead to loops of meaninglessness. In fact, the Backrooms, like a labyrinth or like the, Theseus Minotaur story, they actually change. They're not logical. They are illogical. And they're more like prisons that trap you in a sort of nihilistic meaninglessness, perhaps expressing the way everyone feels that they're trapped in a nihilistic meaninglessness today. And he really kept building on the architecture of the original idea by people finding other doorways into the Backrooms, right? So here's another one where this guy starts exploring, he finds a door, and then the deeper he goes into the Backrooms, and of course eventually gets lost, he starts finding these sort of hellscapes that are like fake model houses that are for sale, right? And if I remember in this one, he kind of hears the voices of like his sister through the wall or something. This one's really good. This one's really genuinely creepy. But you can never really get anywhere in the Backrooms. And just like in the story of Theseus in the labyrinth and the Minotaur, right? At the heart of the labyrinth is a monster, and you can never really defeat the monster, right? I don't know what the monster might be, and I mean, people have posited different ideas. Like, it's the corporate monopoly capital system itself that is the monster. And here, for example, he did some videos where he kind of puts a animatronic sort of monster in the back rooms. He called it the rolling giant. And then he did another one where there was a guy, I think, out in the woods, and he found this out in the middle of nowhere, like a pothole or something, or like a stairs near a tree. Yeah, here it is. There's these stairs near a tree. And then even out in nature, right? What's underneath nature, according to this version of the Backrooms, is actually also this fake world of endless corporate backroom creepiness, right? Thus, all of reality itself, via the videos, is thus the upper layer of an infinite turtles all the way down of a fake reality. What does this mean? In my view, because the backrooms are really also kind of fake. In other words, there's nothing actually in them that's useful or substantial or meaningful. It's all just like worthless corporate desks, furniture, etc. Then perhaps reality itself in the postmodern corporate world is itself a meaningless virtual reality. Thus, it speaks to all the people who think that we live in a simulation, right? They buy into this very easily. What if reality itself is meaningless, right? That's ultimately what this means. And if you have this worldview, then reality is meaningless, right? Because you're in this corporate viper system that makes you work for it your whole life, and then you die. And so you're essentially like the office furniture. You're just another piece of the office furniture that gets replaced once you're no longer useful to human resources. And even human resources itself is a denigrating, dehumanizing title, because you're not actually a person. You are a battery, a resource, a limited resource, or perhaps not limited, because you can easily just be replaced. And thus the logic of the corporate world is just simply to reproduce the meaningless corporate world. That is it. But included within that is getting rid of the humans, right? And thus people see, then what if all of reality is really just this world, this hellscape? And that, I think, is what is the power of the film, I suspect, and the art films and the project here, right? Is that this is speaking to everyone in some deep archetypal level, and in some deep archetypal way, that all of modernity, because it's all premised on this ideology, something is wrong. It's off. It's all upside down. And of course, many of the elements of and layers and levels are upside down within the backrooms. So much like an MC Escher painting, you're stuck in a strange loop, right? And go back to our old talks and our old videos on the strange loops. Watch some of this.
I'll be back.
Did I do that?
I love the smell of napalm in the morning.
Don't take this the wrong way, but you're a little strange. So am I. So is everyone. And that's because day in and day out, we believe in ourselves. I don't mean it in a motivational way. I'm talking about believing in the self as identity, the capital I, the home of our hopes and dreams, our thoughts and feelings. It may feel perfectly ordinary to be a conscious, experiencing being, but it's that very sense of ordinariness which is itself extraordinary. Here's why. Our cognitive abilities have evolved to such a high level that in addition to perceiving the world around us, like a lot of other species, we're able...
All right, so we're going to talk a little bit about philosophy of perception right here. And for those that don't know, a strange loop is this idea from one of these sort of genius type characters, Douglas Hofstadter. He wrote Gödel, Escher, Bach. You guys know we've talked about the loops that Gödel talked about in terms of set theory. And Hofstadter got the Nobel Prize for writing that book because he noticed patterns with the way that sets work, the way that music works, particularly certain Bach and Beethoven symphonies, the way they're written, and also with MC Escher's art, with the dimensionality that exists within his art, because it's 2D, but it shows all these 3D images, right? And sometimes, especially within the labyrinth paintings, you find these infinite loops. And so he formulated this connection between language, perception, set theory, music, all of these different domains, and how there is this repeated pattern of the loop. And nobody else has noticed the Backrooms also being the same type of a strange loop. Now watch this.
To perceive ourselves as well, which means we perceive ourselves perceiving. This in turn gives rise to the self, the conviction that there's something in your brain having ideas, forming opinions, making decisions, and commanding the body. Now, if I were to ask you who is doing all that, you'd probably answer me. I am. But what exactly do we mean when we say I? Consider this. You're the realest thing in your life. You're at the center of every experience you've ever had. Every sight, smell, taste, feeling, and memory has been mediated by your senses. And yet, when we start to investigate what exactly is going on in the mind when we say I, something trippy happens. The concrete conviction of who you are, who I is, starts to crumble. Not only that, but the very reality of I comes into question. Follow this thread far enough and you run smack into a paradox. This is known as the paradox of self, and its conclusion is equal parts fascinating and unsettling. It argues that although we know...
Now, just a little side note. This is relevant to what we argue when we talk about the transcendental argument, right? And the transcendental argument for God is specifically a theological type of argument, but the transcendental argument history also relates to all kinds of other things, right? You could do a transcendental argument for the self, right? In other words, how do I know that there's a self? Well, there must be some perceiver to have knowledge, right? Having knowledge presupposes a knower, and so Kant argued that to make a knowledge claim at all is a presuppositional type of argument for a transcendental unity of apperception concept. And all that's just fancy terminology for the self, that there is some sort of conscious self that is the haver of the experiences, or a haver of the knowledge, right? And so that's kind of touching on this here.
Intuitively that there's an I. We can't empirically prove it without referring back to ourselves.
So, in other words, referring to the self presupposes the self because there's a self having the experience of self, right? So there's this strange loop here. And this is why I've always argued that Gödel's incompleteness theorem is a kind of loose adjacent type of thing to a transcendental argument.
Of your I, whatever you want to call it, confirms and reinforces its own realness. But if the reality of the self is founded upon a recursive logic, you have to wonder, how reasonable is it to believe in the self? How real are you? Who are you? Do you exist at all?
And this is just an introductory video. I think this guy's like just a YouTube philosophy dude. This is an introductory video to what the Hofstadter book is about. And you will see very soon, I'm not going to play the whole thing, but you'll see how this relates back to Backrooms.
There are literally thousands of ways to answer these questions. It's why neuroscientist Todd Feinberg begins his book From Axons to Identity by writing, there are nearly as many conceptions of the self as there are writers on the subject. And to complicate matters even more, the ideas generated from these diverse viewpoints are often unrelated or mutually incompatible. So you can turn to neuroscience or cognitive science or philosophy or religion, but whichever you choose, you're bound to draw complaints that you ignored or misinterpreted or flat out didn't understand some crucial aspect of the self, which is basically my way of saying sorry in advance if I ruffle some feathers. The best approach draws from as many fields as possible, all of which have something useful to contribute to our understanding. That's why in this video I rely heavily on Douglas Hofstadter's I Am a Strange Loop, an ambitious, creative, beautiful attempt to answer these questions by drawing from math, art, music, science, philosophy, and personal experience. Hofstadter, who won the Pulitzer Prize in 1979 for his book Gödel, Escher, Bach, has a knack for interdisciplinary study. He boasts a background in math, physics, cognitive science, computer science, and artificial intelligence. He composes music, he speaks several languages, he translated Alexander Pushkin's novel Eugene Onegin. This guy is a polymath. He sees patterns and parallels where the rest of us would never have thought to look, which makes him the perfect guide through the treacherous paradox of self. Hofstadter defines the problem as a rift between two levels of being that the self seems to occupy simultaneously. On the one hand, I is an expression denoting a set of very high abstractions, a life story, a set of tastes.
Note also these two levels and how this could how this could apply to the show Severance, or how this could also apply to the idea of the Backrooms, right? This world where you enter and you can't really get out of it. It's almost like an internal psychological structure where you're stuck inside a loop, versus the exterior world, which makes sense and is rational.
a bundle of hopes and fears. This one we know intuitively through daily experience. And yet, on the other hand, I is an expression denoting a physical object made of trillions of cells, each of which is doing its own thing without the slightest regard for the supposed whole of which it is but an infinitesimal part. This one we've discovered through scientific observation, but it is not part of our lived experience. Is one level of the I the correct real interpretation, or can both be real at the same time?
So this is also the question of consciousness, right? There's something beyond just the physical material, substrate that holds, the body together, the atoms and the bones and all that, the molecules. There's something else beyond that is the I that's having the experiences.
So, how? To begin answering these questions, let's take a look at the architecture of the self.
What am I?
Consciousness and the self don't just switch on like a light when you're born. It's not delivery, it's DiGiorno. Some of the ingredients are there, but it takes about 5 years to metaphorically bake in consciousness.
This just gets into the question of consciousness. I'm going to skip past this and move a little bit further up to like Descartes and some of the philosophical questions.
It is sprinkled all over your brain. Or maybe, like Descartes, you could believe that the seat of the soul is located here, in the pineal gland. If so, then you're wrong. Not only because that's been disproven, but because this isn't the pineal gland. This is. But from what we can tell empirically, it appears that the self resides within the structure of the brain. A reasonable course of action might be to break everything down into its most basic parts. This is called the reductionist view, which argues that the entire system that adds up to the I can be explained by zooming into the lowest informational level. For example, if you wanted to know why...
We all know the problems with materialist reductionist views, so I'm going to skip ahead a little bit more.
Sheer volume. Instead, we shift up several informational levels from binary, past pixels and sound waves, to the abstract level of images and words. The same issue crops up when we're trying to understand the consciousness. You could reduce it, as roboticist Hans Moravec does, to a bunch of squirting chemicals. And it is that, but it would be meaningless. We have to simplify and abstract to jump up levels, because our brains can't handle the information overload otherwise. Trickle, not fire hose, remember? It's why we talk about wars in terms of armies instead of each individual soldier, or hurricanes instead of raindrops. Like it or not, we're bound to these higher levels. There's another problem though. If consciousness is, at its most basic level, the result of a bunch of atoms randomly bumping into each other, then why does it feel like you... What does that mean? Well...
All right, now let's move up to the connection to the Escher part, because that's where it gets really fascinating in terms of the loops within, say, the labyrinths that Escher would draw.
You know what a loop is. The water cycle, the circulatory system, night and day. In each case, you eventually end up where you began. But a strange loop is a lot stranger. Hofstadter explains it as not a physical circuit, but an abstract loop in which, in the series of stages that constitute the cycling around, there's a shift from one level of abstraction to another, which feels like an upward...
By the way, which refutes materialism, because you couldn't do these abstractions if everything were just base matter.
Movement in a hierarchy, and yet somehow the successive upward shifts turn out to give rise to a closed cycle. That is, despite one's sense of departing ever further from one's origin, one winds up, to one's shock, exactly where one had started out. In short, a strange loop is a paradoxical level-crossing feedback loop. That's a lot to chew on at once, so let's break it down into smaller bites. Some of the most popular visual representations of a strange loop come from the work of M.C. Escher, like drawing hands. Here we have a simple two-level paradox. We see an upward shift from 2D to 3D, from drawn to drawer, and yet there's a violation in this upwardness, since...
But remember, the drawing itself is 2D. So it's meta because it's a 2D drawing representing 2D transitioning into 3D, right? Which shows us that there are other dimensions, by the way.
Each hand owes its existence to the work of the other. Or consider the paradox of waterfall. The water flows down a course before pouring over the waterfall, only to wind up where it began. Once again, the hierarchy of levels has been violated. These sketches are helpful analogies, but they're not full-fledged strange loops because, well, they're not real. There are, however, two real-life examples. One is mathematician Kurt Gödel's incompleteness theorem, which contains self-referential proofs. But I was in the lowest level math class in school, so I'm not going to attempt to explain it. The other real-life strange loop is, you guessed it, the self. According to Hofstadter, there are two crucial...
Well, in regard to the incompleteness theorems, basically, this was a dispute with Bertrand Russell that focused on the question of whether or not, as Russell thought, mathematics could be a complete explanation of all reality. And Gödel's response was, I can prove from mathematics itself that mathematics cannot explain all reality. And he used set theory to say that you can never have a complete set because a set would also at some point necessarily refer outside of itself. Thus, set theory refutes the reductionist idea of a completely logical explication of all reality. Thus, you could see why it relates to transcendental type of argument.
Elements that make the self a strange loop. The first is an ability, the ability to think. We don't just passively receive input, we perceive, and in doing so we distill a dizzying amount of raw information into abstract symbols in our minds. The second element is an inability, namely the inability to peer below the level of symbols. Our innate blindness to the world of the tiny forces us to hallucinate a profound schism between the goal-lacking material world of balls and sticks and sounds and lights on the one hand, and a goal-pervaded abstract world of hopes and beliefs and joys and fears on the other, in which radically different sorts of causality seem to reign. Although it's...
So this gets into like free will and all that too. I'll give you guys this full video if you want to watch it later. But I want to get back to the Backrooms because that's really all that was relevant to the Backrooms in that discussion, in that helpful little video there. But we've talked about that for a good while. Now, with regard to Kane's presentations, there's also these pitfalls in these areas where it can get worse for you, right? You can fall into places where you feel like you're back to normal reality, but you're actually just in another version of the hell world, right? And a lot of movies have done this too, right? This is kind of a recurring presentation where you come out, you think that you're back to your your neighborhood, but you're actually just in like a worse, demonic version of your neighborhood. So, really cool stuff. I do expect the Backrooms trailer or the Backrooms film to be really good, and it looks like people are going to explore it further. They're going to get lost. Probably what will happen, and usually, I mean, I don't know, maybe not, but usually in horror films, what's going on is that you're the cause of your own prison, and so you have to confront your own trauma to get out of the horror of the Backrooms. But that's my thoughts on the liminal space and the Backrooms. What do you guys think? Do you think that I'm wrong in my analysis? Do you think that my thoughts, let me see my notes here to make sure I got to all the points I wanted to get to. To recap, it's erasing the past. There is no past, present, or future in the Backrooms. There's just wandering to an infinite bunch of meaninglessness. It's existential dread and corporate nihilism. Corporatism is innately thus, in the presentation of the Backrooms, anti-human. The liminal space is typically hearkening back to the 80s and the 90s, which was the last of the pre-virtual, pre-internet era. So we are longing for the human realm. The liminal space is also very much like the internet in that it doesn't have a lot of meaning. The meaning can very quickly be replaced and forgotten. Nobody remembers the news stories online from 5 years ago, right? For example, search engines have recently been retooled to where you really can't find old archive stuff anymore. And that was all by design. That's a version of erasing the past so that you only live in the immediate. It's industrial Gothic or institutional Gothic. It's the updated version of Gothic horror. Even the idea of no clipping into the Backrooms shows the gamification of all reality. Reality is now seen like the virtual, like the real, like the internet world. So the simulacra has replaced the simulation, which is the point of Baudrillard's whole essays, right? Almost again, a kind of a prophetic warning, even in films like The Matrix. And The Matrix is ultimately sort of Gnostic. It's a neo-Gnostic presentation, but there's still some truths within the idea of The Matrix, like, what if we live so much in the virtual that the real world actually just gets replaced and becomes the virtual as well? And there was a guy who made a video, I think he's an Orthodox guy, Seraphim Wirch. I forget his exact name. I had not seen his stuff before. I'd heard of him before, but I never really watched his videos. He did a good video on this the other day where he argued that the virtual world doesn't have to even be a thing that you always live in perpetually, like in some coon pod, because if you spend all of your time in the virtual world online, if significant amounts of time, and it actually programs you to act more like an algorithm, like a total Spurg, like a Spurg 5000, Spurglord 5000, then you're already almost a virtual person. And you will already reinterpret the external real world as a virtual world. You're going to treat it the same way as the internet world. So the internet world already is the simulacra replacing the simulation, or the fake world. So you might not even need simulation theory because people are already going to read all of reality as like the simulation or like the virtual. We mentioned Severance. We mentioned the in-between, the upside down. We mentioned vaporwave, synthwave. What if reality itself is breaking and bending? Are we seeing all reality as virtual? So it might not be like some sort of cosmic horror in the sense of, Cthulhu, or in the sense of like H.P. Lovecraft, where metaphysical reality itself begins to break down. Although who knows, maybe at the end of the world, metaphysics itself starts breaking. I don't know. But like, what if the bleeding and breaking of reality isn't the actual external world, but the way that everybody's internal world and their worldview, their paradigm gets reprogrammed and restructured through the symbiotic loop of the internet. What if that retooling of the inner world of people then basically just makes them interpret the external world in these mind-controlled hellish ways? Do you see what I'm saying? So you don't have to actually change the world. Like, well, we're gonna, turn on CERN to make it like fuck up metaphysics and reality. Well, all you have to do is like retool and re-imprint the mind of the humans to misinterpret reality itself, and then you don't need a CERN machine that makes time go backwards or some crazy shit, right? You just need dummies to be reprogrammed to interpret reality wrongly. And that's much more hellish and possible than turning on CERN and making the past be erased, or make Donald Trump time travel, whatever bullshit people think about CERN. There was a novel about this, which I had not heard of, called House of Leaves. And I'll find the guy's video. Let's see, who was that guy? I have to think of this guy's video. I should have saved it, but I don't think I remember to. Yeah, this is it. So, not really familiar with this guy's content, but I did enjoy his philosophical ruminations on the Backrooms. And so I'll give him some credit, because his video inspired me to do this video. So you could get his take on it. Like, he comes off as kind of agnostic, sort of atheist type dude, but he did have some interesting insights, and he referenced this story, House of Leaves, which is also very similar to what we're talking about. We mentioned the Theseus, Minotaur, Labyrinth story. We referenced that extensively in our lengthy analysis of The Shining. The Shining is another presentation of the Labyrinth and the Theseus story. Jack is the Minotaur, of course. And that's all self-conscious. But, so that's all of my ideas on it. It's a threshold, but a threshold to where? A threshold to perhaps hell world bleeding into our world. Perhaps a threshold of the actual dystopia rolling out, the one that was warned about in all of these 1980s and 90s fiction stories, now manifesting into reality out of the collective unconscious, right? Perhaps that's really what's going on with the Backrooms, but I want to know what you guys think. Michael says for $5, nothing. Thank you, Michael. In the Filth, $2. Yo, you live, homie. Yeah, I got to figure out how to get Restream to stop automatically turn. As soon as I open Restream, it automatically starts streaming. I got to figure that out. Y'all want to go to the Backrooms? The vibe is definitely horrific. It's a new type of horror like none other. It's cosmic horror for sure. Squirrel, $2. The new Mormon Space Wives sounds like a modern or Modest Mouse. It does. D Jules, $5. Ooh, you fancy now. Go on then. I'm about to. Rui, $20. Thank you so much. Mickey, $2 for your Indian hired crew. Zombie Hunter sends a big old fat $100. Thank you. He's winning the super chats tonight. Zombie Hunter says, Jay, the people crying about Massey on X are cringe as fuck, especially Zionist billionaires Jeff Yass, who also funded him. This shows the moral relativism of the libertarians and how duped they are by oligarchs that fund any side or every side. Can you do a TED talk on this topic? Yeah, I think it's not surprising because people don't look into who funds stuff. And if you've got powerful oligarchs on both sides, this is really the tale of politics for forever. Politics is always a who's funding it game. It's not the rhetoric of the politician. It's who's putting the money behind the person. In fact, we were just watching Peaky Blinders, and I'm getting near the end. And by the 6th season, as is always the case in mafia stories, right? Cillian Murphy has, climbed the ladder to being an international corporate syndicate. And he's involved now in politics, right? And he's a politician. He's part of the Labor Party. And lo and behold, not only is he part of the Labor Party, he's also on the down low working to undermine the fascists in terms of Ian Mosley. He's also working to steer the IRA, right? The Irish Republican Army. He's also working to steer and control the underworld. And so he's playing all sides. In fact, there was a great scene reminiscent of the famous scene in The Prisoner, the excellent TV show, which also illustrated this point, where he's explaining to the IRA girl, because she's like, what side are you on? Are you on the communist side? Are you on the socialist Labor Party side? Are you on the democracy side? Are you on the organized crime side? Or are you on the fascist side? And he's like, there's a circle. All of these sides eventually meet. He says, if you go far enough to the right, he says, you'll meet the far left. And he says, I'm in the middle because I am a rising corporate elite and I want to use, when is necessary, all of these ideologies to my own ends. I wonder if I could find that Prisoners scene that shows that. Oh, I think it's the one that, is it the Global Village? I think it's Global Village. I wonder if I could get away with playing it, or will it copyright it? Yes, this is it right here. So now if you've never watched The Prisoner, it's amazingly deep philosophical spy show. There's never been a show like this. It's a spy show that's also like super deep conspiracy and philosophy lore. Nothing like it ever. It only went one season, but if you don't know, Patrick McGoohan plays the former British spy who's taken off to this retirement village for former spies because the spies know too much and they have to send them off to this place in the middle of nowhere. They don't actually know where they are. And this is actually real, right? This is based on a real place. Obviously, this is sci-fi sort of dystopian version of it, but there really was a place in Scotland where they would truck these dudes off and kind of keep them locked up in this like hospice place in Scotland, right? So it's based in reality. I read a whole bunch on this, and it's a significant section of my first book, right? Because it's very insightful to what's going on, and it's very relevant here. Watch this.
Some people who talk and some people who don't, which means that there are some people who leave this place and some who do not leave.
So Patrick McGoohan on the left there, right? He's against this whole system now because he doesn't understand why, as a faithful, British intelligence operative, he's been retired and sent off to this dystopian controlled village. And he's talking to his sort of controller handler person who he thinks runs the village. And he's like, whose side are you on? Watch this.
You are obviously staying.
Has it ever occurred to you that you're just as much a prisoner as I am?
Oh, my dear chap, of course, I know too much. We're both lifers. I am definitely an optimist. That's why it doesn't matter who number one is. It doesn't matter which side runs the village.
It's run by one side or the other.
Oh, certainly. But both sides are becoming identical. What, in fact, has been created? An international community.
You hear that? The village is an international type of community that will mirror the macrocosm of the international community coming out of the Cold War.
A perfect blueprint for world order. When the sides facing each other suddenly realize that they're looking into a mirror, they will see that this is the pattern for the future.
The whole...
Notice how prophetic that is. The Cold War would produce a dialectic that would result in a synthesis of a perfect controlled corporate world order. And if you don't know, the whole village is run by a kind of all-seeing eye surveillance system that doesn't allow you to leave the village.
As the village. Yes.
That is my hope. What's yours?
So the espionage controlled dystopian world of the village is the model for the new world order. And The Prisoner was telling you this in 1967. It's a super profound show. Nobody watches it. Nobody's seen it except for a handful of people. Lord Voldemort mentions it all the time. That's why I ended up watching it, I think, is because he mentioned it all the time. But if you've never watched it, I know most people don't have the patience because it's not an action show. It's a high tier, high IQ sort of British drama almost. But if you do have the patience and the ability to watch it and the attention span, yes, you would watch it. Then you would actually be able to vibe with a lot of my content if you understood what this show is about. Fallacy, $5. Show a wig a little bit of support, y'all. Y'all need to monetize this diva. Exactly. Scotty Too Hottie, $10. Jay, do you have the title for the Holy Ray-Ban song? I actually think it's up there with Pay Piggy and Quasimodo. I'll have to put it on YouTube. It's still just on my X. It doesn't even have a title. Zero Dot, $10. This is in support of Wigxanthium. Thank you. Biscuit Head, $5. Dude evolves more and is more into Smeagol as he wars against the church. You talking about Ruslan? Ruslan's turning into Smeagol. Not a Mossad agent, $10. Yeah, we did that one earlier. Potbelly Goblin, $10. Ruslan talks about marketing like he's selling rap CDs outside of a black community college, which he probably has done. Giovanni, $5. I went to steakhouse to order a filet mignon. The waiter came back. I said, how was it? I said, it was filet okay. Yeah, the people want to debate us and don't even know how to pronounce the words. Incuridian, $10. Queen of the Wigxanthium, how do I watch more of your Requiem streams? Requiem streams. Oh, Resident Evil streams. There's the only ones I did are up. So I got to where I was so eager to play the game that I didn't live stream the whole game. I only live streamed like twice. So Storm of the Cat, $10. Many liminal space videos also have the 2000s aesthetics. Yeah, okay, whatever. I mean, you know what I'm saying. It doesn't have to actually, it doesn't have to literally only be the 90s. It can be 2001 or 2. That's fine. Yeah, there's Windows Vista era aesthetics. Okay. I mean, let's not nitpick, dude. But thank you for the super chat. Jmail, $15. Father here's just talked to David Wood on his stream. I did see that. I thought about doing a live stream on that, but honestly, I just wasn't in the mood to do another prot slop drama stream. I'm just like, after a while, it gets old. I mean, we did 20 hours, 30 hours of streaming on that last week. I just needed to talk about something else. Turns out Protestants needed exorcism. The chat was so wild. All they did was talk about orthodoxy charging people for baptism, which was a lie. Well, that's all they have. So, but I appreciate that super chat. Maybe next week we'll review it or do a stream on it. My mood is not prot slop. I can't talk about that for freaking 40 hours straight, man. I got to take a break. Leontius, $10. Somebody literally posted Gerdel Escher Bach yesterday or earlier on X. I was reading about it for the first time. Very interesting content. Very crazy that you brought. That's Providence, dude. Synchronicity is really just Providence. Basically the same thing. JB, $5. My interest in cognitive philosophy and perception specifically was instrumental in getting me to be received into the Orthodox Neptic tradition. That's great. Yeah, there's a lot of amazing overlaps and parallels here. In fact, I may just title this the Liminal Space stream. I've been wanting to do that for forever. I don't really want to get into the Ruslan shit again, but look, it's much more fun to go off into these other directions. Slow Boy, $10. This is my penance to the Emperor and the biggest diva of Wigxanthium. You know that's right. Let's talk God, $5. Uncanny psychological horror is very dominant in modern horror. Yes. It's leaned on most, in my opinion. Thus, you have a win take when it comes to the Backrooms. Thank you, dog. Mr. Funzerker, $10. If you enjoy Backrooms, Greylock is a shift towards a deeper psychological occult territory. Is that a game or is that a movie? It focuses on the human mind and it's manifesting a fake reality through occult mind control programs. Well, I did play the new Alan Wake, and a lot of people were critical of the new Alan Wake. And you guys know that we did some funny streams on that. Everybody was cracking up about those. But I beat the game, and it ended up being the same type of stuff too. It was fun. It wasn't my favorite game, but it was fun. Epic Skeptic, $10. Can we get another game stream? Yeah, we will. We will. What about Knights of the Old Republic? I think I had played that some. I just forgot about it. I got busy playing so many other things. Tweetbomb, $10. There's 3 great books that tie into your analysis about Backrooms and this corporate angle. Amusing Ourselves to Death. Yes, I'm familiar with that. Technology by Neil Postman. Yep. And Technology. Understanding Media by Marshall McLuhan. And then the rest of your super chat is cut off. But yes, I'm familiar with those books. Tingu, $10. I actually just caused a schism from Rap Church. I started my own church in the Backrooms. Well, I guess we do need you might as well set a franchise up everywhere. So set one up in the Backrooms. Ooh, that would actually be pretty fun. Here's a fun use of AI. Get the AI to make a liminal space Backrooms version of a church. That would be awesome because it would actually end up being like Rhythm Church. It would look just like these fake ass business corporate church. What is Lovecraft's cat's name? $2. Can you answer my question, please? Well, you didn't ask a question. You just sent a $2 super chat, but ain't got no question. And by the way, around here it's called question. V Scott, $5. Goal for the goal. Did we get near the goal? We're almost at the goal. If you guys want to support the stream, hit me. Hit that goal right now. Right, we're gonna hit that goal right now. We got like one super chat left to hit that goal. Although technically we have hit the goal because YouTube doesn't register the Streamlabs super chats, but we're almost there. Help me hit that goal right there. That's going to fund this big interview that we're doing, y'all. Grant, $5. I would love to see a reaction to the Avi Loop stuff that's going around. Oh, I did watch part of that. Maybe we'll do that next time. So I saw this guy's video pop up and I started watching. I watched about...
With no one being able to answer.
I watched more than 50 seconds. I got about 6 minutes in, and I do intend to get to this. What time is it? We got some time. Y'all want to do this right now? We might as well do this. We got some more time. We could do a reaction to Avi Loop. Griff Master. Yo, I'm the Griff Master. I'm the Griff Master. Spitting dope rhymes. I'm the Griff Master. Dude, Ruslan's the Griff Master. Can't nobody come close to Ruslan's grifting. You guys want me to keep going? Or y'all getting tired? Y'all getting tired? Because this will fit in, I think, with the strange loop or with the Backrooms and stuff, right? Y'all want me to keep going? Hey, y'all want the good times to roll? All right. Canonical Beard, $10. Thank you so much. Vector of Intellect, $5. To the goal. Justice, $10. Thank you for your service to Wigxanthium. Thank you, dog. Lab Tip, $5. Check out the short story, Feathertop, by Nathaniel Hawthorne. I've read Nathaniel Hawthorne, dude. Come on. Like, I don't know who that. I did English, dog. He's a writer that Flannery O'Connor admired for storytelling and gothic grotesque. Feathertop's message on society, intelligence, the average person will haunt you. That's a really good idea. I need to do that. Let me write that down, or else I'll forget. Dude said Feathertop, talking about Ruslan's hair. Dude said Broccoli Top. Yeah, but have you read Nathaniel Hawthorne's Broccoli Top? Good old Broccoli Top. Broccoli Top, Ruslan, yeah. I gotta write it down or I forget, dude. What's it called? What about Liminal Business Church? Dude, that is Liminal, dude. His church is Liminal Business Church. That's the thing. It's called Feathertop. See, a lot of y'all don't know. I've read a bunch of lit. I was doing a lit grad degree, lit and philosophy. You know, the one that I made up that I lied about or whatever. No, I went all the way, all but thesis, ABT. And my thesis was partly written, so I just published it in peer review. But you said Feathertop will haunt you. I'll check it out. And then let's see, we got Greylock is a YouTube series. I think I've seen that. Now that you say Greylock, I'm pretty sure I've seen that. Let me see. Yeah, I think I've seen this.
Time code, error. These credentials are not recognized.
Dear believers, when men pursue evil, it is evil. Back in 1864.
Yeah, I think I watched this or one like it. Maybe I haven't seen Greylock. There was a YouTube horror. You guys might know what I'm talking about. I don't remember the name of it, but it was like instructional tapes when the social collapse has happened. I don't know if it's like a zombie outbreak or something, but it's like these videos of like end of the world instructional videos. Do y'all know what that one is? That was a pretty good one. I might be getting that mixed up with Greylock. I don't think I've seen this one, but there was one like this. And if you guys know which one I'm talking about, mention it in the chat because I can't remember the name of that one. But it was also very popular. It had, you know, 1 million views or whatever. But I would like to get into this one if we have the time. Let's see, put it on 1.5. What's up, y'all? Thank you guys for the chat. Yeah, that's a great point too. David Lynch also was doing liminal space horror before everybody else, for sure. Yeah, and somebody made a video of other forgotten liminal space horrors, but a lot of them were pretty. They were not very good, like B movies that were just almost unwatchable. Since we're on this theme, I'll pull it up. Yeah. This guy's channel, his name is Nightmare Movies. I've only watched some of his videos. This one that he did was pretty good. It was okay. The name of it is, I'm talking about the movie. What's it called? I remember trying to figure out what the name of the freaking movie was. It took forever because it's not listed. Anyway, you can go find the name of this movie. Like, it took me forever to figure out what it was. It was an okay B movie. It did have some creepy vibes, but it was such a B movie. It was hard to watch. And then he did another video, I think, listing a bunch of liminal space horrors, but they were not very good. Of course, obviously, It Follows. That's a classic. That was really good. Which I heard they're making It Follows too, I think. Silent Hill would count. I am a Silent Hill fan. Obviously, Mulholland Drive. Obviously, you know, The Shining would count. Lost Highway would count. I guess Blair Witch Project would count. I don't like found footage horror movies. I think they suck. They're really annoying to me. But I will say that the first one was pretty good. Twin Peaks Fire Walk with Me, definitely liminal horror. Pulse was pretty good. Pulse was better than I expected, and they even did a remake with Kristen Bell, which is not as good, but it was okay. It was definitely liminal space horror. Cube, I don't think I've ever actually watched Cube. I've heard it's good, but I don't think I've ever got around to it. Dimland, I don't know what Dimland is. I've never heard of that one. That might be cool. I did think Vivarium was good. For some reason, we missed it. We never did a deep analysis of it. I thought it was good. It was a good liminal space horror. Cosmic horrors. Of course, we've done Dark City many times. It's in Stark Hollywood 3 now. Beyond the Black Rainbow, definitely good. We did that. We covered that a long time ago. And pretty much all of the Greek, I just went blank on the Greek dude's name. Mandy, right? Obviously, Mandy was. Does this not have Mandy on the list? I mean, Mandy is better than Beyond Black Rainbow. Surely Mandy's in here. They didn't put Mandy in. Well, they missed. They missed one of the best. What's this one? Oh, Erink. Honestly, it looked too creepy for me to watch. Like, something about being stuck in the low res for the entire movie was just a little much. I just couldn't do it. I can't believe they didn't put Mandy on here. Mandy's like the most. That's like the pinnacle of all of these. I apologize on not being able to figure out the name of this movie, but this guy did. I think he intentionally didn't put the name of it there so that you would like hunt around and click on the video to figure out what it is, which was pretty smart actually. But what do you guys think is the best liminal horror film? I mean, definitely, probably. Dude, so many of David Lynch's things are going to be up there. I mean, It Follows is a classic. But I want to say probably David Lynch, It Follows, and Mandy would have to be the best. What do you guys think? What movie sucked? Yeah, I like Color Out of Space. I mean, Mandy was a lot better than Color Out of Space, though. Just overall as a film. I mean, Mandy is like, and there's some really intense parts that are hard to watch, but I mean, that movie blew my mind, dude. In the Mouth of Madness, yeah, that's cosmic horror. I don't know if it's liminal. It could be. It's kind of liminal space. I like The Triangle. I like The Void. Aren't they making a part 2 of It Follows? Am I right about that? By the way, I have to say, while we're on the movie tip, there will be one.
And immediately was like, "What are you doing this sequence?
What's happening? What's happening?
And you are, in fact,
Yes.
finally
We're doing it.
That's the next gig.
Yeah, that's the next job.
You said before, I've heard you talk about
Mhm.
it. The script's pretty great.
It's very dark and oh my god. But
on the fucked up scale, what do we got? 1 to 10.
It's pretty. I mean, what would you put the first one at?
That's an 8 or 9.
You think?
Yeah.
I mean, it's so hard for me because I don't, it's like not scary. Of course, it's not scary to me. So it seems like, you know. Then this would probably be like a 15, 6.
So she's saying that It Follows 2 will be a 15 on the 1 to 10 liminal scale of crazy. Oh, there's already a trailer. No, that's got to be a fake ass trailer. Dude, I hate fake trailers. They drive me crazy, dude. There's nothing worse than freaking fake trailers. Because you get all excited. You're like, oh, dude, they get. Oh. But anyway. I mean, I think Mandy's got to be up there, dude. Come on, dude. You got to be honest. It's crazy. Event Horizon. Event Horizon is just more of a freaking space, faking gay space horror, dude. Lawnmower Man. We've done all these, by the way. Pee-wee's Great Adventures. It actually is kind of there's elements of liminal horror in Pee-wee's Great Adventure. It's definitely trippy at times. It's interesting too that along with, right, the Backrooms vibe and the liminal space horror vibe, that's kind of taking over horror now. That is interesting. I didn't even think about that. Because they started trying to make horror woke, right? And it doesn't work. It bombs. People don't want that. So it makes sense that this would be like the next, trend within horror for sure. Mimic? That's not liminal space horror, dude. What are you talking about? Y'all just playing now. Hellraiser, again, I don't know if Hellraiser really makes it. I mean, I think liminal space just has to be like creepy, empty, corporate, weird, it's David Lynch's fan turning in a room with just a lamp and a recliner, you know what I mean? Oh, I forgot you guys. Yes, I have to mention, we will be doing As Above, So Below, and that was actually way better than I expected. Again, I absolutely hate found footage horror movies, and that's why I didn't want to watch As Above, So Below, but it was actually really good. And Jamie and I are going to be doing As Above, So Below, The Ritual, and we're revisiting Eyes Wide Shut and The Ninth Gate after 10 years. So let's do a little bit of this because a lot of people are talking about this now, and I started it and didn't get to finish. I got distracted, so let's check this out.
The seemingly simple question, what was Aviloop? And the more you search for answers, the more deranged this trail becomes. This is the story of Aviloop, YouTube's darkest mystery.
And there's no catch.
So what are you waiting for, Captain?
Now, I'm under the impression that this is real, right? This is not like a totally fictional sort of marketing thing. Because I haven't finished the video, so I don't exactly know where it goes. I only got like 5 minutes in. So am I correct, those that have watched it, that this is purported to be a real thing?
Welcome to Aviloop, your collective buying website for anything aviation.
The formula for Aviloop's content was simple. A young woman stands in front of a static white background dressed in a flight attendant's outfit. They refer to themselves as deal attendants, and their job seems to be sharing information about this new brand, Aviloop.
We offer deals on flight lessons, pilot accessories,
fuel, FBO services, charter flights, and even small aircraft.
You don't see that very often.
The brand marketed a number of unique aviation-related services, making them appear as a one-stop shop for anyone in the industry or just anyone interested in flying. Aviloop claimed to do it all, and at unbeatable prices too.
Our deals are usually 50 to 90% off.
Promoting deals of 50 to 90% off.
Well, you know what this immediately reminds me of? Remember the connections that Jeff Stein McEffrey had with the women who offered to fly you on the planes? Like there was these ads and like promos of these chicks dressed like flight attendants, and that was part of the deal when you fly with the Jeff Steinmeier Airlines. Jeff Steinmeier Airlines.
It seems like anything mysterious, just your standard subpar ad from the early 2010s. But the more you watch, the less clear it becomes what exactly Aviloop did. They left their business incredibly vague. There were no prices, no locations, and rather they just listed a bunch of flying buzzwords, offered at deals that seemed impossible. For example, they list fuel supply among their offerings, but how are they actually getting the fuel and providing it at 50 to 90% off? And where in the country or even the world are they offering it? It just doesn't seem realistic. What they're saying sounds fine on the surface.
By the way, it's really fun to revisit because a lot of these movie podcasts, you know, we did a lot of these analyses back when we had like 20,000 subscribers. You know what I mean? We had 30,000, 20,000. And I mean, we've got, you know, 10 times the subscribers now that we had back when we were doing all of those. So maybe we need to like review and revisit a lot of these movies that we did, you know, before we had a larger audience.
But the more you think about it, the less sense it really makes. It just seems too good to be true. Not to mention how bizarre it is that this unknown company could come in and offer literally anything you could want that's flying related, with such exorbitant deals. Admittedly though, this is easy enough to ignore, and play off as an ineffective or even deceitful advertisement. But there was something else that was much harder to ignore about these commercials. With that being, the deal attendants themselves.
So you guys are saying I've already nailed it? Dude, listen, when Jamie and I watch movies, I'm like expert movie detective now. Jamie's like, I'll solve it like that, dude. I'll be like, we'll be like 10 minutes into 5-10 minutes in the movie. I'm like, oh, it's da, 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 and they're like, oh, yep, that's it. Now, every now and then I'm wrong, because that's why the only movies I like nowadays are the ones that can actually trip me up, which is, it's got to be like some crazy shit, right? Like, oh, that was actually a synthoid from another dimension. It wasn't that guy, right? Like, otherwise, like, I'm going to figure out the movie right away.
Despite Aviloop claiming to be a professional aviation business, it's difficult not to notice how cheap these women's outfits appear. They're clearly costumes rather than real flight attendant uniforms.
Now, that's what I'm saying, Tingu, is like, Jamie got me, this is best example of this. I'd never seen Usual Suspects, right? And within the first minute or 2 minutes of the movie, I knew it was Kevin Spacey, because in the shadow, the way that he held the cigar is the gait and the stance that Kevin Spacey has. I was like, it's Kevin Spacey. Movie ruined within 2 minutes right away, because it shows you the shadow of the villain in the first 2 minutes. Like, that's obviously Kevin Spacey. You can tell the way he stands.
And they're clearly over-sexualized too. They're essentially dressed as fetishized versions of actual flight attendants, which is bizarre, as one of the services that Aviloop claims to provide is staffing for flight crews, which would include actual flight attendants. Yet, for whatever reason, they chose to dress these girls in seductive costumes. If they were trying to make these advertisements look professional, they were failing miserably. And it wasn't only the outfits that had a strange...
It looks kind of AI though, but they didn't have AI back then, right? So it's weird, because the way it looks now is kind of like creepy and AI and fake looking.
...sexual undertone to them. It was also the script that the girls were reading.
Whether you want to learn to fly, charter an airplane, or just see more girls like me,
or to see more girls like me,
Aviloop can help.
Aviloop can help.
So what are you waiting for, Captain?
And remember Top Gun? Clearly you're attracted.
Now, I don't mean to be too dismissive here, because I don't know where this is going to go, but I mean, is this video just about ladies of the evening? Because I'm not saying that that's right, but I'm saying, like, I mean, isn't that the second oldest profession? It's got to be something crazier than that. Like, maybe they're trafficked or something like that, or they're not of age. I don't know, but I mean, it's got to be more than just you know, 304s, right? That's not that's existed since the beginning of the world.
This increases with every flight under your belt.
Bizarrely, the videos themselves were filled with sexual innuendos.
Anyone who claims that humans were not meant to fly never experienced the thrill of their own successful landing. Get ready to fly big boy airplanes.
They were clearly trying to be more than a little flirty, which goes hand in hand with the outfits that they were donning. Now, some might argue that this was a sign of the times. In 2011, edgy and over-sexualized marketing was still very much in the norm, with several major companies building their entire brands around the approach. But the only problem here is that the videos made it unclear what Aviloop was even supposed to be offering. Despite saying a lot, the lack of details made it entirely ineffective, like the business itself was an afterthought, with the focus instead being on these women. In fact, even in the channel's description, they simply wrote, "Meet Aviloop deal attendants." This is the official page for a brand new company trying to promote its services, and that's all they had to say. That's how they marketed their entire company. Making some wonder what was actually the role of these deal attendants, and what was actually the purpose of Aviloop. The first and most likely theory at this point is that Aviloop was an overambitious company that used over-sexualized marketing to build intrigue around its brand, at a time when others were doing the same thing to great success. Maybe they weren't even off the ground.
This just seems like OF, right? OF style arrangements before OF. Is that what it is? Yeah, like Girls Gone Wild, but private jet edition. I'm not trying to downplay like that's creeper, but you know, is there something more in terms of illegality going on here?
And overpromising on services that they hoped to one day be able to provide. But for the time being, we're just throwing out there to get more people to visit their website. But with such a focus on these deal attendants, and just how strange these videos come across, some were left with a different theory, that rather than Aviloop using sex to sell their service, maybe sex was their service. The theory goes that Aviloop was a front for pornography or even prostitution, poorly hidden under the guise of this fake aeronautics company. This would explain the prominence of these deal attendants, as they themselves may have been actresses or prostitutes. And it also explains the lack of information about the company itself, as the reason their deals and services don't seem to make any sense.
Jeff Steinmeier Airlines. I like that one. Jeff Steinmeier Airlines.
Was because they weren't actually offering them. It was all just a cover-up. And honestly, just going off the eye test, this is how the page comes across. But there are other details that make this theory a lot more compelling. For starters, in numerous videos they mention an unusual feature of their website, that users can vote for their favorite deal attendant and win prizes as a result.
You can even vote for your favorite deal attendant and win special prizes.
With one of these special prizes later being revealed to be a one-on-one video call with one of these deal attendants. This shows that the deal attendants weren't just for marketing, they were a core part of the services offered to Aviloop users, making one wonder what was actually happening on those video calls, and was it perhaps something sexual? And it goes even deeper than that.
Like, I mean, obviously by now we can tell it is. What do you mean?
Loud enough for even the deal attendant to take notice. It's very unusual, and certainly not a sound that could just accidentally happen on a typical film set, which makes it all the stranger that another inexplicable noise was heard in the background of a different video, and this one left viewers far more distressed.
You want to learn to fly, charter an airplane, or to see more girls like me? Aviloop can help. Or to see more girls like me? Aviloop can help. Or to see more girls like me? Aviloop can help.
Yeah, we've reached the point where I start calf maxing. Y'all know we at that point when I'm putting the calves up with calf maxing. So y'all help me out here. Let's get to did we get to the goal? We're one super chat away from the goal, y'all. Come on now. You all gotta help a wiggle. Help me out right now.
Some believe that this is yet another sexual moan, while others swear they can hear a specific word, the word, help. It's incredibly concerning, especially if this prostitution theory is true. I mean, there's just so many implications to it. Given the link between—
Oh, interesting. Okay, so I was wondering if it was going to get into like a trafficking angle. Let me hear that again, because to me it didn't sound like they were saying that, but I also have it sped up. So let's hear it. Let's see.
Especially if this prostitution theory is true. I mean, there's just so many implications to it. While others swear they can hear a specific word, the word, help.
Maybe.
It's incredibly—
It was kind of, maybe. We'll see. It's hard to tell.
Concerning, especially if this prostitution theory is true. I mean, there's just so many implications to it, given the link between prostitution and human trafficking. But again, this could all be part of the marketing. Maybe this was all just a ploy to get people to visit their website, roping you in with these sexualized, creepy, and even concerning videos that almost demand that you dig deeper. Well, if this is the case, then surely visiting their website would help put this mystery to bed.
Oh, is this going to go to Jeff Steinmeier? Yeah, so here's a whole section of the video about Jeff Steinmeier Airlines. Well, I already knew about this. Didn't we already know this? Or did this guy just make a more in-depth video? I thought we already all knew this.
At the time these videos were uploaded back in 2011, those visiting the Aviloop website would be met with a rather lackluster experience. The homepage was dull and uninviting, and seemed about as vague as the videos promoting it. However, they did have an About section that attempted to describe the service more in depth. There, they mentioned that the primary goal of Aviloop was safety, as they believed that making training and other aeronautic services more accessible could in turn—
What do you mean it's all fake? There was a whole Jeff Stein Airlines thing that came out. I don't know if this is that, but that wasn't fake. What do you mean?
Help prevent accidents, which strangely was never even hinted at in their videos, and is never mentioned again on any other portion of the website. But it was in this About tab that they listed even more services that they claimed to provide. Services like navigation equipment, headsets, and pilot vacations, among many other things. Basically anything even remotely related to flying, they sold it, or at least claimed to, and they insisted that they did so cheaper than anywhere else, by using collective bargaining, a process that they would go into greater detail about. Basically, Aviloop acts as a third party, partnering with aviation businesses to promote unique deals on their site. Each of these deals has a quote.
I mean, the websites definitely look super freaking cheap and fake as hell. I mean, look at that, dude. Is that the website or like their fake ass Facebook profile? That's ridiculous.
That must be hit for it to actually go through. So if enough people buy the deal, the quota is reached and everyone gets a voucher to do or receive whatever they paid for. But if the deal doesn't reach its quota, then everyone is refunded and the deal is voided without any cost to the users or the business. Aviloop was the middleman, which could explain how they managed to offer such impressive deals and such diverse services. Though again, this is just what they were saying, begging the question, was anything actually being sold on aviloop.com? Well, there actually was. The deals were sorted by general locations, and most consisted of flying lessons, museum trips, or even temporary tattoos. However, there was something unusual about these
I mean, they're selling the chicks, dude. This is like obvious now. What do you mean? What y'all think?
listings. Bizarrely, almost every deal on the site was marked as completed, each having ended in 1969, which obviously wasn't possible. There were only a select few deals throughout the entire website's history that were ever even active. And even then, there didn't seem to be a...
Alright, I'm gonna skip ahead a little bit. This website part's boring.
Exposure. Adding a deal attendant has the potential of making it viral on social media sites. Promotions that include a video tend to be extra successful. There's a lot to unpack here. For starters, this explains how Aviloop makes their money. They're basically charging companies to run ads using these deal attendants, and the videos on their channel are examples of what these ads would look like. Though calling them professional is extremely generous, and I can't imagine any companies actually wanting to use the service. And given that these are the only videos that they shared, I don't think many, if any, actually did. Extremely sexual in nature. They were meant to mimic pilot stripes and be put on your shirtless shoulders, with a package reading, "When a uniform just won't do," and the description adding all sorts of innuendos. It appears so fake. But that doesn't inherently mean that they were actually involved in pornography or prostitution. I mean, despite all these innuendos, there is no direct mention of the sale of sex anywhere on the website from what I could see. And unfortunately, much of the website is lost to time, as in 2016 the site would go down, replaced by another random URL, making it impossible to know what this platform was actually like for those who signed up for it. What were they actually being offered? What were they discussing amongst themselves? And what happened on these video calls? It's all unknown, as what I've shown is pretty much all I was able to salvage from the way back.
Yeah, I mean, this immediately seems like obviously some sort of criminal operation running under a front, right? All right, let's get to the next part.
It comes across like a sham website, void of any notable information, with one exception. There was a single new addition to the site, as at the very bottom you could find a short bio, not of a deal attendant, but of a legitimate pilot, named Nadia Marinko, the creator of Aviloop.
It's Marcinko, not Marinko.
Revelation is huge, as Nadia Marinko was a well-known and extremely successful pilot, which makes Aviloop all the more confusing, as you would think that her involvement in the company would help legitimize it, and make it seem more likely that Aviloop was a real company after all. But instead, it actually did the exact opposite.
Yeah, wasn't this the chick connected to Jeff Stein?
Her involvement plunges this mystery into a whole new depth, a depth far darker than we've yet to discuss. Born in Czechoslovakia in 1986, Nadia dedicated her younger years to modeling, landing multiple high-profile roles in her country. And by the age of just 15, these roles led to her being moved to the United States to help continue this budding career. But by 20, her interest had shifted to a different kind of runway. She became obsessed with flying and had a natural talent for it too, quickly rising through the ranks and gaining certifications faster than most others could at that age.
Oh, that's why I recognize her face, because she's on the thumbnail of the video, and she was tied to the Jeff Stein McCaffrey stuff.
By 25, she was considered extremely accomplished for someone so young, and her resume would soon reach a wider audience when she began leveraging social media. She posted videos under the alias Gulfstream Girl, and eventually Global Girl, where she marketed herself as a supermodel turned pilot, which worked to the tune of millions of views. Nadia Marinko was a star in the aviation world and on social media too, and it was during the height of the success that she started Aviloop. It clearly wasn't meant to be
so she started it. Interesting. Let's get over here to the real meat of the video.
Soliciting and procuring minors for prostitution.
He was involved in trafficking young women and children over to Little St. James.
In case you're somehow unaware, Jeffrey Epstein is the most prolific pedophile and human trafficker maybe of all time. He carried out a large-scale human trafficking operation, bringing children to his private island that he and other elites exploited in horrific ways. It's considered one of Epstein's victims. He found her through her modeling job when she was just a teenager, and she didn't just come to the United States for work. Epstein himself brought her.
I knew it. So, just like a movie, I solved the case within 2 minutes. What do you guys think? Y'all were like, how did he know? He already knew. I didn't even watch. I promise I didn't watch it yet.
After allegedly purchasing her from her father, what followed was Nadia becoming his self-described sex slave. It's a horrible and unimaginable fate. But while Nadia appeared to have been a victim of Epstein, that wasn't all she was, as after becoming an adult, she also became Epstein's accomplice. When Epstein was first investigated by the FBI back in the 2000s, many of his victims came forward and claimed that Nadia was not only present for their abuse, but she was a willing participant, there to satisfy Epstein's criminal sexual desires by, on occasion, directly participating in sexual abuse and prostitution of the minor girls. Now, Epstein was eventually given a sweetheart deal for these crimes in 2008, which led to him serving just 13 months in prison. And as part of that deal, Nadia was given complete immunity, meaning she never...
Yeah, I think she disappeared, like she's probably in witness protection or something.
...faced any sort of repercussions for her use of children. But despite being a free woman by the time that Epstein was thrown in jail, she stood by his side, living in his New York City home, waiting for his release. And while he was behind bars, Nadia would visit him roughly 70 times.
Whoa,
These
dude.
two were deeply connected.
So she was still like running shit that he couldn't run while he was in there.
Well after she was his slave, with Nadia even making a scrapbook for Epstein, which is just so terrifying that I had to at least mention it in this video. It would be several years later in 2012, a time when Nadia had long since left Epstein's home and his control, that Nadia would rejoin his operation, this time with a brand new role. She became one of Epstein's pilots, taking victims and perpetrators alike to and from the island, on the plane they dubbed the Lolita Express.
What happened on the Lolita Express?
Everything that happened on the Lolita Express and his other planes was the same thing that happened in his bedrooms and the massage rooms. The abuse did not stop because we're in the air. Jeffrey couldn't take a 2-hour flight without having to ejaculate. Like, that's how sick this man was.
Nadia Marenko was directly trafficking children for Epstein, and she was doing this in 2012, mere months after she started Aviloop. Which brings...
Yeah, I knew it. I knew this was exactly where I was going to go. Did we hit the goal yet? Y'all, come on now. We're almost to the goal. Y'all would help me hit that goal or not? We're like one super chat away from the goal. I'll read a couple more super chats here. Fernando, $5. What do you think about Liminal Business Church? That's already Ruslan's church. It exists. Barangos, when is Cholo Church Potloco? Yeah, we don't have potlucks, we have Potloco. Tingu, $10. We do Franzia wine in backroom communion. Yes, correct. That's corporate fake wine. Fallacy, $5. That could actually be a good idea for a short film. You find a church in the back room. It's a burst of beauty in the nightmare. That would be weird. D. Jules, $10. Jay Dizzle, watch Under the Banner of Heaven. A Mormon detective investigates an unalived Mormon woman and her child that are mixed up in FDLS cult. Is that a documentary or a movie? What's it called? Banner of Heaven. Let's see. Oh, it's a drama miniseries. Oh, yeah, I heard about this with Andrew Garfield. I think Jamie watched this. I'm pretty sure Jamie watched it. She was saying I need to watch it. Phantasm, $5. My first super chat. My first time ever seeing your stream. This is great. Awesome. Guess what? You got archive of... You got a lot of work to do, son. You got... Shit, what do we got now? 1,600 videos to get to. Start working. You best get to work, son. Since you're new around here, but welcome. Fernando says for $10. Besides Pasco, what's your favorite service? Sunday or St. Gregory Palamas in Lent. He says Dormition, Vespers is goat. Mine is Nativity, Dormition. I like the Triumph of Orthodoxy too. Peter White, $5. It's quite sus that the Protestant grifters know more about Islam than they do about Christianity. Oh, that's a great point. Real quick, while I'm on the subject, and shout out to some of my friends for hipping me to this point. I didn't realize
if someone believes
what might be going on, and now I think this makes perfect sense. So the question is, what made Ruslan suddenly so fussy about all of this, right? Because Ruslan himself admits that he had a change of mind in the last month, right? And that's what spurned the catechumen being pitted against the, Gavin Ortland and Trent Horn. But what exactly caused the change in Ruslan's mind to be going in this direction? And I think we figured it out. So it turns out that every time that he's had Orthodox people on, and that includes, he's had me, he's had Neil and Jonathan Pajot, he's had Father Desai, he's had Father Peter Hears on, he's not realized until after having all of us on that we're not an ecumenist church, okay? I don't think Ruslan originally thought that. His thought was, how can I increase my market reach? Here's this whole group of orthos. I'll reach out to them and then they'll be part of my audience as well. So he's thinking about it, as we all know, as a marketer, right? Well, he starts having all the orthos on and he realizes that they don't teach ecumenist, lowest common denominator Christianity. They don't teach mere Christianity. So then he realized that, wait a minute, their exclusivity claims are not going to work with my marketing approach. But that's not all. He realized that when you go to the comments of the videos with the Orthodox, all of the comments are how they're becoming Orthodox. Let's look at these comments. It's about becoming. This is the best line in this video. I'm being baptized in the Orthodox Church next month. I left Protestantism, 1,300 likes. Orthodox is so deep. I'm becoming Orthodox. I'm former Presbyterian, becoming Orthodox. I'm becoming Orthodox. Like the first 50 comments are about becoming Orthodox. I would say 90%, right? I converted to Orthodoxy. I love it. I just became a catechumen, right? Orthodoxy has the best, deepest understanding. Greetings, I'm Greek Orthodox. Orthodox, 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 right? Ruslan realized that the comments are not amenable to what he wants. The comments are about orthodoxy. Let's see if it's the same on Ruslan with Father Trenum.
So if you come into the church, you're going to see hundreds of thousands.
I'm a new Orthodox convert. I'm 50 years old. I'm on my way to Orthodoxy out of atheism. I'm becoming Orthodox. More and more people are coming to Orthodoxy. These are the top comments. I was Protestant, now I'm Orthodox. So I think my thesis now, and this is shout out to my friends who hit me to this point, Ruslan realized all the times that he brought the Orthodox people on and they went against his dumb assumption that we all would say, an ecumenist, yeah, bro, we all got to just get along, dude. It's all the same church. He realized, they don't believe that. And even their top dudes that I bring on don't believe that. And they don't support my marketing goals. That is why he has now decided that all the orthos are actually bad. I've also been told from some inside sources that these goobers are all coordinating. They have either Telegram or Discord groups, and all the goobers are working together now to fight the Orthodox. Now, wait a minute. If you are an ecumenist and a lowest common denominator believer, then you have to believe that Orthodoxy is also part of the lowest common denominator church, right? Because they're saying you can go to the Messianic synagogue, right? Well, if the Messianic synagogue counts in their LCD view, obviously Orthodoxy counts. So even if Orthodoxy is exclusivist, it shouldn't matter to them, right? But then we start to realize the fact that it does matter to them shows that they are actually exclusivists themselves. So we have solved the mystery Ruslan realizes that the comments are all pro-Orthodox. So that's why he had to switch away from having Orthodox people come on to Christian TMZ. Literally, his whole channel is Christian TMZ. Ruslan quit having Orthodox people on. Did you notice that? After, who was the last? I don't know who the last one was. It was either me or maybe, I don't know. No, it wasn't Pajot. And by the way, I don't count this dude as Orthodox, right? So Ruslan is still presenting the Orientals as if they're Orthodox, and they're not. So I don't count that dude. Instead, what he's done is his fake panel of Orthodox verses. Notice this. Remember, it wasn't a debate, according to Ruslan, and now he's got it tagged as verses.
So we believe.
I thought it wasn't a debate, though. But now it's Catholic versus Orthodox versus Protestant. That's adversarial language, Ruslan. So notice this actually shows that the truth is out, and Ruslan actually was lying. It was a debate because now he's got the adversarial language up. Catholic versus Orthodox versus Protestant. So he intentionally put a catechumen up. Everybody said, why are you putting catechumens against seasoned debaters? He said, it wasn't a debate. It wasn't a debate. It wasn't an adversarial relationship. Versus is adversarial, dummy. And originally it said debate, and he blamed it on his employees. Remember that? So again, Ruslan is just a total liar, and he's a total marketing grifter. To be fair, Ruslan just had an Orthodox priest on. No, that dude is not an Orthodox priest. You talking about this deacon? This deacon is an Oriental. He's a schismatic, and Ruslan intentionally is putting the Orientals on because he thinks he's so dumb. He thinks that because there's people who claim to be Orthodox, that's a proof against Orthodoxy's exclusivity. This is how low tier he is. That dude is not Orthodox. That's the schismatic deacon that confronted Philip Nechtel Knucklehead or whatever. Otherwise, I mean, Ruslan is basically Christian TMZ. It's just like drama. So he had Neil and Pajot on 2 years ago. He's still doing these. By the way, watch our, we clipped this.
This poor girl.
We clipped this, by the way, into a full sort of documentary, 2-hour documentary thing, documenting his lies and bullcrap. So here is the downfall of Ruslan video if you want the full clipped version of it. But yeah, that's what's going on. So now we know the mysteries of Ruslan. Cameron, $10. Ruslan thinking about how much church plants he could set up in the back rooms. How do I monetize these back rooms? By the way, here's the full Avi Loop video. Did I need to watch anything else in the Avi Loop video, or did I get basically I knew within like a minute, dude. I knew that's what it was. I'm a good detective, dude. Come on now. I'm the movie detective, bro. Have they made an actual good Backrooms video game yet? That seems like it would be interesting. I know there's I saw a bunch of like $10 ones on PlayStation 5 shop, but they look crappy. So is there any of them that are actually good? I don't know. I like how this one's like the portal to the back rooms, like in Stranger Things, right? And you go in there, and it's the first contact with the back rooms. And what's up with everybody ripping him off too? Like everybody just, I mean, you can do your own versions of it, obviously, but like there's like a million different channels that do the exact same thing that he did. The pool rooms. I saw the pool rooms. Is that actually fun? I mean, don't you just run around? You don't really. It's cool. Okay. I'll check out that one. I almost played that one. I don't know if it was any good or not. So you're saying Ruslan. Yeah, I think Here's was the most recent Orthodox person Ruslan had on. Ooh, it's creeping me out, dude. Teen Goose says for $5. Anyone remember Marble Hornets? That's the Slender Man series. Yeah, I remember Slender Man. Ethan Goff, $5. I bought Esther Hollywood, but I have a problem. I don't know how to read. Storm the Cat, $5. Mirror's Edge is Liminal Aesthetics. Okay, I've heard of that. Casper Guest, $5. I'm a Nick Crowley fan. I watched his video on Loop. I was going to say you need to watch it. He has several videos on liminal spaces. I didn't know that. Well, dang it, I already closed out the video. What does he say about that? Dang, he's got a bunch of videos. All right, let's see. Did y'all like my philosophical breakdown? Oh, okay, he does have a bunch. Here, let's see what he says.
Our world truly is a terrifying place, and I don't think there's ever been a more relevant time in this channel's history to make a statement like that. But one of the things that has always scared me the most about this world is when it glitches.
That plane looks like it's just...
What happens when you glitch out of reality completely? Well, if this happens to you, you may find yourself in a place where no man should ever go. A never-ending prison of rooms that exists outside our world that's now your new home. And if it sounds scary, maybe you'll take comfort in knowing that at least you won't be alone. To 4chan that caught the attention of many. The picture was of what we now know as the Backrooms. Something about it, the emptiness, the tone, just gave people bad vibes. And summed up, the photo was incredibly unsettling. Along with the photo, a caption was added that...
Isn't it crazy that just this one photo created this whole this whole lore? And now it's like hundreds of millions of views and it's going to be a motion picture. I mean, it's just crazy that this rando image here caught on.
Just gave people bad vibes.
By the way, I took a real... I'm not saying I'm not trying to do that like I was doing this way before anyone else. I took a really cool liminal space image a long time ago on my Instagram. I'll have to try to find it, dig it up. It's pretty crazy. It was I was driving to Texas in like 2017, and there was this really, really creepy looking abandoned factory, and I pulled over and took a picture of it. It looks really neat. I'll see if I can dig it up for you guys.
Was added that claimed that the backrooms go on for an impossible distance, and every room looks the same. It is said that there are a few ways to wind up trapped in these backrooms. Some say that they can be accessed through your dreams, or even seen in visions. Because of it.
Well, that's, by the way, why the backrooms would be associated with or connected to the collective unconscious, right? Because when you're dreaming, you're going into your inner world, your inner framework, which is, I think, actually kind of structured like a house or structured like some kind of world. And I've had a theory about that for a long time, but and the reason I think that is because a lot of my dreams, especially when they're recurring dreams, there's like areas and places that you can return to and then explore new areas past those areas, right? Kind of like in an open world video game when the map's gray and then you go into the new area and you've discovered new areas. My dreams are that way. So I think that there's probably something to the inner world actually structured that way. And that's why it resonates with what people see in the backrooms.
Many claim to recognize the picture and even felt some sort of nostalgic fear when seeing it. But others claim that the only true way to get there is much more difficult, and it requires a tremendous amount of luck, or perhaps in this case, the exact opposite. It's theorized that every object we interact with in this world is clipped to our reality. So for example, when you bump into a wall, you collide with it, and you bounce off of it. But going back to glitches in our reality, it is said that, on occasion, objects within our world will no-clip. This is something that happens often in video games, where a part of the map becomes no-clipped, and you bump into it, you go right through it, and you sometimes end up falling right off the map. There, your player is stuck, still inside the game, but in an endless void beneath the map. In the real world, people believe that some objects can become no-clipped.
Which, by the way, when you're playing a game, it sucks. Like, it's awful when that happens, because you always have to turn it off. You can never get out of that shit. Obviously, which is what makes it shitty, right? But, check out his liminal lands with Nexpo. Was this the one the video you're talking about? No, it's not. It's a different video. Okay, I'll find that one next. Parker, thoughts on Quadriano? I don't know much about that. I haven't read much about it. I still haven't gotten into it, so I don't know. Eugene, $10. Shay Dyer or Han Cholo. I'm curious what you know about AI Kodak and the end of Metal Gear Solid. It prophesied the rise of a digital censorship in this area. I've heard people saying for years that Metal Gear Solid was very prophetic. I only played part of the first one because my buddy that passed away, he was a big fan of it. And I played it with him a little bit, and I just never got into it beyond that. Game Tiger, Green Tiger, $20. I got your book in the mail. I'm so excited. Do you think that the new war movies that come out, like Michael Bay's new movie and the new World War II movie, are predictive programming? They could be. I mean, a lot of movies are. I don't know what Michael Bay's new movie is or what the new World War II movie is. I will say though that the new Resident Evil looks very fascinating. This will be the first time that perhaps the critics are going to like a Resident Evil movie. I mean, I'm a fan, just kind of a guilty pleasure. I like all the Resident Evil movies, but the new one is the Whitest Kid You Know guy that did Weapons is doing it. And it actually looks like it's going to be like, it might actually be a critically acclaimed horror movie. It looks pretty good, I have to say. The Zach Gregor guy. So I am looking forward to the new Resident Evil. All right, I gotta get these super chats going here because I'm starting to melt down and get mush-minded. Josiah, Mandy is the best Nick Cage film. Ooh, good question. Is that the best Nick Cage movie? Probably some subjectivity is going to come into that one. Because it's hard to say, but it's definitely up there. It's definitely up there. I mean, Bringing Out the Dead is pretty good too, though. But then so is Bad Lieutenant. I mean, he's got a lot of bangers, man. He's really good. Storm the Cat. The multiplayer maps in Halo Combat Evolved are liminal. Interesting. I haven't played Halo in like 15 years, dude. Ethan, $2. Room 1408. Yeah, that could be. Constant Doodle, $2. Possessor was good. It was all right. I was expecting more. Kara, $5. Orale, vato. The most liminal space movie is Stalker. Ooh, good point. Now, for whatever reason, I have to brag because it didn't get promoted in the algorithm. But we've done podcasts with Andrei Tarkovsky's son. So I've done Stalker at a in-depth level. And everybody forgets this. And nobody watched it when it should be like a freaking zillion views. And we only got 13,000 views.
Oh, motherhood.
So here's me with Father Vladimir. We do an entire 2-hour mini documentary almost with Andrei Tarkovsky Jr. on Stalker. Hello, this should have like 1 million views. It's got 13,000 views. But thank you for reminding me. Yes, that is definitely a liminal space horror. Great point. Tarplantis. The Tank is an interesting movie. It's a mix of Backrooms stuff with World War II. Interesting. The Tank. Brizzle, $5. Jack Murphy is of the Liminal Order was my favorite horror show. Not a Mossad Agent, $10. JB, $5. In the same vein, is anyone watching Destiny's Schizo arc? You might have covered it. It's funny. I did mention that a few months ago. Is he still on that Schizo arc? I don't keep up with Destiny. Canonical, $10. The counter is broken. We actually broke your goal 8 chats ago. Cool. Well, actually, I like the idea of a broken counter because then you guys just keep doing it. Dude, y'all just keep giving some chats, bro. Yo, dude, that's wild, bro. Yo. You bring out the wigger in me. Tengu, $5. Is the goal bugged? I don't know. Maybe I need to refresh on my end. Let me see what happens if I refresh it. I wonder if the goal has to do with does it actually have to be a $20 super? Like if you do $19.99, does it not count towards the goal? I don't actually know. Maybe that's it. Armani Lugo, $5. I'm new to your channel. This is my tribute. I heard you were an emperor. You heard correctly. Thank you. Welcome. Broccoli says for $12. This is my tribute to the emperor. Requiem, $10. PP Kaka, I love you, bro. Appreciate that. That's high tier and I love it. C. Willius, $5. I would like to nominate Riff Raff to the Wigga Senate. He's already a potentate, dog. I was wondering if you was okay. If so, then I feel like we could be okay with Phil Oakway. Exactly. Mav, $5. Finn, $5. Somehow, I'm sure somebody in the Middle East is behind all this. Ortho, $20. Goal! Mountain Walk, $5. Galians, are they allowed in Wixantium? Hell no. You think we want to let them butt pirates in Wixantium? Hell no. Thought of a Pilgrim, $5. Good luck on the coming big interview. Thank you. We're good this weekend, dog. Big one coming this weekend, y'all. Y'all helping me pay for it right now. Nick Dick Wiener. Ruslan is running the Goober Industrial Complex. He part of that GIC, son. J Money, $5. If all these grifters converted to Orthodoxy and they came out, would you be worried that they were infiltrating? Yeah, I think what would have to happen is, just like with like certain sins and proclivities, like it would prevent you from immediately monetizing. I'm serious, right? That would be the norm. Tingu, $20. I'm sure that you will never sink 100 hours into any anime or anime video game, but Persona deals with collective unconscious called Mementos. Yeah, it's on my list of games to try. I'll definitely try it. I don't know if I'll stick it out, but yeah, I'm familiar. Sean Patrick, $5. We Are the Dreamers of Dreams. Name that movie. It sounds familiar. I'm just tired and I'm forgetting because it's late into the evenings. Wigan Nationalism, $5. From the Wixantium Nation, baby, straight up. X-Lockstep, $10. There's something off-putting about the aesthetic of the 70s all the way into the 90s. I don't know about all the way into the 90s, but I mean, I think 70s aesthetics is pretty gross. 80s is gaudy and wacky, but I like it because I grew up with it. 90s is weird and all over the place, but I also kind of like it. And there's a huge diversity between early 90s and late 90s. There's moisture in the air. There's emptiness. It's hard to explain. Thank you for this stream. Thank you. I love these culture streams where we go off in the different directions. Kadino, $5. Ashtar Sharon, credit be upon him, is the cracker angel whose light spoke ex cathedra from the Galactic Federation. But is this false in Wixantium? It sounds like it would be. Parker, $5. Toys with Robin Williams is not a horror, but it's very liminal. Yes, it's also trippy and seems like MK Ultra. And we've been meaning to go back to Toys for a long time. Because I don't know if I've ever even seen the whole film. It's freaking, dude. How much acid were they doing when they made that movie? Look at this trippy shit, dude. Watch this. Yo, dude, that's trippy as hell, bro. For real, man. Who put acid in my Alps? Yo, Tucker done put a bunch of LSD in my Alps, dog. Yo, dude, that's trippy as hell, bro. We gotta do this movie. For real. You want to know what LSD is like? This is like this right here, dude. This is what it's like. Is it like Willy Wonka? I don't even know what it's about. It definitely seems like MK Ultra based, though. Is that Robin Wright? Joan Cusack? Yeah, this would be weird to watch now. I bet you 100% this is some straight up LSD, MK Ultra, mind control. C. Willius, $5. Liminal Space, Mind Space, Memento, Machinist, Donnie Darko. To a degree. I'm like the one person that doesn't like Memento. I know. I've heard a million times that I need to like it, and I've given it like 3 chances. I just don't like it. I don't like it. I mean, it's not a bad movie. It's just not, I don't find it fun. Machinist is hard to watch. I love Donnie Darko. Tingu, $50. Just because I love you, Jay. Safe travels. Thank you, Tingu. Much appreciated. You guys are being very generous. Jaylon, $5. Anime is cool. I'm not an anime hater. I'm just also not super into anime. I've always been kind of neutral on anime. Like, it doesn't really bother me. A lot of dudes are weird that are into it, but it also doesn't bother me. But see, I grew up only with Ghost in the Shell, which I like. Mio Hayazaki movies. I liked all of those, but I've never gotten into the other ones. I just keep forgetting to do it. I know Neon Genesis Evangelion. I know. I've got like a list of all the ones that all the bros have told me for many years. I will do it. I promise eventually. Straight white male, $5. I wish JP would debate. He's getting cooked by everybody. He is dumb. Now, apparently, he wants to debate. I'm skeptical that this will actually happen, but I'm told through third parties that he wants to do a public formal debate. Okay, we'll see. I'll believe it when it happens. Pepper Profit, $5. Your analysis is worthy. King of Wigzantium. Thank you, dog. Y'all starting to see. Y'all starting to believe. Believe that. As my friend who passed away said, you better believe that.
Flipped from reality, a wall will appear darker than the others around it, or you'll find a door that you're certain there should be nothing on the other side. If you have a keen eye, you can notice these things and avoid them at all costs. But not
I dare say this might be the best Backrooms analysis. I'm not hating on Nick Crowley. He's doing good stuff. I've seen about 3 videos I like now from Nick Crowley. I'm not hating on him, but I mean, this stuff is sort of more of a pop audience stuff. And we just went like super deep, dude. We went deeper than the other philosophy bro that just did a great. He did a great analysis. I mean, that dude's analysis was what inspired this analysis. But I was like, dude, I could take this analysis to another level. And I think we did that.
Nothing of the implications that are soon to come. And much like a character in a video game, if you interact with a non-clipped object, you fall off the map. And one could imagine that it's incredibly confusing and terrifying to go from...
Are you noticing how everybody is explaining reality now according to video games? Gamification, right? That was one of the key points in my analysis.
Existing in one world to instantly being dropped into another, with nothing but millions of square miles of empty rooms on either side of you. But this is your reality now, and it's where your journey into the Backrooms begins.
Well, it's interesting that there was originally, I don't know if it's still the case, posited to be 3 levels to the Backroom, because in ancient Greek mythology, reality was 3-tiered like that, right? You had the underworld, you had this world, and you had the world of gods. That's interesting.
Level 0 is a maze of monotone yellow rooms, each looking the same as the last, with only the slightest of variations. The carpet that covers the level is moist and creates a persisting scent. In the beginning, the only sounds that can be heard is the consistent loud buzzing of the old fluorescent lights. As you walk through the rooms, you'll start to realize how big the area actually is. Every room just leads to another and another. You start to wonder, how big of an area could this actually be? And how could this even be possible? Many will start to run and sprint through the rooms, thinking that this might get them out of this maze faster. But it's no use. And after running around for seemingly an eternity, you'll finally realize that you're likely going to be stuck in here for a while.
That's what I'm saying. It's like the Theseus story, right? Because in the Theseus story, the labyrinth constantly changes and you can never get out of it. So it's kind of like a hell story, right? And then the Minotaur is the beast, or the sort of Satan of the labyrinth.
This first level, and that's for a few reasons. Either they lose the will to carry on, or they encounter something. While walking through these rooms, you may find yourself encountering humanoid creatures. After walking for hours and maybe even days, just imagine the horror of turning the corner and seeing something standing there. Something that isn't human. These creatures are known as hounds, and they look like disfigured humans who walk on all 4s. They make a low rumbling noise, which will...
So the Backrooms is just hell. It's just corporate hell, basically. 40 Crush, $5. The Nordic aliens seeded life in Northern European. They taught Yakub before they left. Exactly, son. That's one of the, in Wixantium, we would say that is an acceptable form of comparative religion. Ortho cards, Wigga, please. Cheddar says for $5. Jay, I was actually having one of the worst days I've ever had in my life. Dang, dude, I'm sorry, bro. Everybody pray for Cheddar. However, you don't know how much I appreciate your live streams. That's awesome, man. People think I'm mean. I would rather just clown around. I'd rather just joke around with you guys. I'm being serious. Squirrel, $2. New Mormon Space Wife song is Modest Mouse. Yeah, we did that one. Ooh, you fancy. Rui since $20. Thank you so much, Rui. Nixie gifts 5 memberships. Appreciate that, Nixie. Scott, Too Hot Toddy, $10. Jay, the link for the Holy Ray-Ban song. It's on X. I'll put it up on YouTube. MC Romex gifted 10 memberships. What's up, dog? DJ MC Romex. Biscuit Head. No, we did that. Josh says for $5. Have you ever considered that the view of unconditional election predestination might be why Protestants don't care about false teaching? It that contributes to that. Absolutely. Especially if they're Calvinists, right? I mean, a lot of Protestants are not. Very few Protestants are actually 5-point Calvinists in the total, but for the ones that are, that's probably why they don't. But Ruslan's not a Calvinist. I don't think he has any of those types of views. DM 500 RSDs. What's up, dude? Thank you. Romax, $10. You heard the man. We all want Spurgy tag questions. Oh, you joking, dude. You joking, dude. DM sends 250 RSDs. What the hell currency is a RSD? Forget branch theory. You got broccoli theory. Yo, dude, y'all still cooking, bro. Kaiser says, Jay, you got to see the Ode to Yakub. What is that? Is that a song? That sounds awesome. Let's see if we can find that. I'm liking Nick Crowley's videos, though. He's impressing me. He's got good stuff here. Ode to Yakub. Let's see. Oh, shit, dude. Look at this right here. All right, this looks fun. I'll give it to you guys in the chat, but I don't want to ding the copyright. This is a fire stream, son. I think we might get a lot of views on this because of the Backrooms. So I don't want to mess up the algo if I play copyrighted music. Yeah, get out of here. You are here. You haters in the chat are henceforth banished from the kingdom and empire of Wixantium. So mote it be. MC Romex says, Jay hitting blue steel tonight. Oh, y'all want a little bit of that? I keep forgetting I got the Diva Cam. Let's hold up. Y'all want a little bit of that? You got it, dude. My key, $5. Isn't Twin Peaks all backroom shit? Yes, we said earlier David Lynch is sort of the OG of liminal space backrooms for sure. Deep says for $5. This is my Indian tax butter. Formerly leather, $10. Spit some new fresh bars. I mean, I could, dude, but it's the end of the night, man. You gotta ask me that at the beginning of the stream, bro. Even though you actually did, because that was an old super chat. But I'll try to do some new cringe core soon, y'all. I'm just kind of tired right now. I'm saying I need a new song for my wife's ringtone. Voice of Reason song. Y'all getting tired of that one? I recommend the movie Obsession. It's one of the best horror flicks in the last 10 years. Obsession. That sounds familiar. Oh, this is the new one. I want to see this. This one actually does look good. Yes. Is it out? Can you watch this now? Is it in the theaters or what? Yeah, thank you. I do want to do this. And yeah, it will probably be worth analysis. They look good enough for analysis for sure. Alter Void, $10. I remember Betamax versus VHS fights when I was a kid. Yeah, we used to, when I was in California, my dad was kind of a cheapo, so he would still rent Betamaxes because they were cheaper. Tingo says, yo, we all starting to get Ruslan fatigue. Yeah, aren't you sick of his broccoli hair? And that dude's breath stinks too. Like, I feel like I've seen so much Ruslan face. I feel like the breath is coming through the screen. I'm starting to smell his stank ass breath. I'm tired of Ruslan too. I'm glad y'all is feeling it. Jacob says for $5, I'm Orthodox because of you, bro. I just want to reminisce that one time you had to give Derek Mythvision a spanking. I was in that live chat. He gets like 50 viewers nowadays on his live stream. Thank you for destroying him. His content was actually stealing my faith, making me Gnostic. Remember he said his channel was going to take over. He was the future, and he was going to be like 500K, going to be 1 million in no time. And you're saying it's 50 people in his live stream? Armo Slug, $5. What do you think about the Armenian Apostolic Church? Unfortunately, they're in schism, so they do have a lot of things in common with us, but they're also in schism. So, Great Scott said for $5. Father Peter was on with David Wood. He did really, really well. Good. I hear though that the whole chat was just like they're just pearl clutch. They don't even care about theology, dude. That's what I'm trying to say. Like, we're over here trying to do these high tier theology arguments, and they're just pearl clutching about renting a Greek Orthodox fellowship hall. Yo, charge for baptism. That's all they have. They don't even care. JD, $5. I'm curious if you think that there's any esoteric thought streams in Christianity that do not cross into the Gnostic heresy. Palimism is that. So look up Hezekiah and Palimism. Acts, $5. Do you know the Henry Novak story? I don't. Is that probably something to do with like Islam and dystopia and Islam and Islam in the UK? Henry Nowak. Abstract. Backrooms? Nah, son. I'm trying to talk about the black room. We ain't ready for have this conversation yet. Yo, I like the way you think, dog. Jason Cassell, $10. I haven't watched it in a long time, but would you say Aronofsky's Pi is a liminal space movie? Ugh. No, I wouldn't say so. I mean, it was definitely creepy. And dude just goes, Pi was predicting all of these gematria tards. Pi is the exact exemplification of the gematria tards on the internet, dude. I thought we was gonna have a easy, fun stream. We might make a couple $100. We're almost at $1,000 tonight, y'all. Thank you so much. Y'all been super generous. All right, where was we at? Let's see. Backrooms. By the end of the night, the scrolling thing does not work well. Maybe that's the end of the super chats there. Jake Croat says for $25. For $25, can you riff cringecore to Sade? Oh shit, dude. Let me try to make a note of that and do it on the next stream. I'm way too tired to Dude, we've been in the back rooms for 2 hours, man. The back rooms will suck your soul dry. Riff to Sade. What do you want me to rap about? For 25, just anything? Don't say Ruslan. I'm so sick of Ruslan, dude. Ugh. We got Ruslan fatigue around here, man. Kara said for $3. Hey, SA, could you do a paranormal stream, fool? La Llorona, slapped ham, ghost, or whatever? Yes. It's been a while since we did a spooky stream. We've done about 3 or 4, and they're a blast. So, yeah, we need to do more of that. For sure. For show. For show. I'll make a note to do another spooky stream, dude. Well, this one counted as a spooky stream. Like I said, we was in the back rooms for 2 hours. That was spooky as hell. Spooky stream right here. Y'all want spooky streams? Listen, if y'all request spooky streams, you got to come do it though. Y'all got to be here. I don't want to do a spooky stream for 500 people. Y'all got to come show up. J Money, $5. Are you going to switch to a PC? Jim Bob says you're boomer. I can't, dude. I'm too boomer. I'm sorry. You should get FDA and a walkie-talkie. That would actually be ironic and hipster. I'll go full hipster and do an interview on a walkie-talkie. That actually sounds pretty cool. I could trip out my guest that I'm interviewing, my big guest this weekend. What if I tripped her out and I was like, "No, we're doing this interview via walkie-talkie." She'd be like, "What?" I'd be like, "Yo." She'd be like, "Make sense of that." I'm like, "There ain't no sense to it. That's why we're doing it. You in the back rooms." Guys, remember, we got a show sponsor, which is chalk.com, choq.com, best supplementation on the internet. Head on over to chalk.com, choq.com. Use the promo code J60Life, JAY60LIFE. Is 60% off all those great products, including the male vitality stat writer. Y'all don't remember the previous spooky streams? I know Slowboy Whiteboard does. She was here for all. She loved it. She was loving it, dude. Spooky streams. Let's see what we called it. I think it was called that. Let's see. No, it's not that one. Here it is. Look at that, dude. Ghost Glitch Matrix. Look at that. We was scaring y'all. Too many of y'all got scared when we did this stream. Right here. So if you get bored after this and you need more of it, here's a whole other spooky stream we did. Scary ghost, glitch in the matrix, cryptids, UFOs. We did it all, son, right here. The only thing in this genre that I absolutely hate, I love spooky videos. I hate when they go into abandoned buildings and walk around with their GoPro cameras and wait until somebody farts and then they claim it's a ghost. I mean, I hate those videos so much. I will never watch. I hate those. I will not watch ghost team videos. They're the stupidest, most boring of all, dude. Codislive, $5. Bump up for the spooky streams. All right, y'all sending money. You want spooky streams? Okay. Benjamin, $5. Steve Gregg said on a Facebook group he would debate you. I don't know who the hell Steve Gregg is. Look, here's the rules, y'all. If you got a small channel, you call in. I don't do a formal debate with anybody with 500 subs, 1,000 subs, 10,000 subs. You don't get a formal debate. I'm trying to monetize these people. That's a joke. Malleus Hereticorum, $5. I exposed Ryan from Need God. He's got a script. I'm not surprised. Go check out the link on my post. That is HOH Malleus Hereticorum. He says he follows the script. Dude, I bet you he's just repeating AI, isn't he? So is Need God just repeating AI? I bet he is, dude. That dude is so low tier. Gavin Ortland said for $3. I'm sending this because that Wigger Ruslan starts punching the air because he knows his ops are stacking paper. Yo, dude, we about to make Ruslan so mad right now, dude. Dude, that dude about to turn red, bro. He about to be a red piece of broccoli, dog. A cooked broccoli, son. Thank you guys so much. We're gonna do a spooky stream. X Lockstep says for $2. I like shoes. I like money. Banana Up the Butt says for $20. Did you read Michael Hudson's book, Super Imperialism? No, but I did read Eric Wahlberg's Postmodern Imperialism. But let me write that down to get it. This dude's always coming with them book recommendations. You would enjoy his point of view. Critique of U.S. imperialism through finance. It gets into the gold standard ending, IMF and World Bank. No, that sounds perfect, Michael. Super imperialism, Michael Hudson. We listen to our audience around here. A lot of these streamers don't even listen to the audience. Marisa Heyman, $20. Spring Bakers. That's Wigger liminal space. Damn, son, it is. I didn't even think about that. And listen, me and Tristan, we did that. You got your boy Tristan over here retiring from the internet. Meanwhile, this is when he could come shine. This is his moment to shine, and he's retiring from the internet. But yeah, we had fun doing that one. Spring Breakers. This was old school too. Look, this is Jay and Tristana.
Candy.
When I was looking weird and puffy from carbs, dude. Before Tristan convinced me of his diet cult. Yo, y'all check that out right there. Benjamin, $5. Look up Steve Gregg. He ain't a slouch. I didn't say he was a slouch. I said, does he have 100 subscribers? He's debated James White, Aiken, and Staples. I don't know. We'll see. I've already planned out like 10 debates, dude. Well, not 10, like 5. But I'm willing to bet that some of those people won't show up. JP. Ant Dog, $5. Jay, I ordered your book. I'm eager to get into it. How long does it usually take? Well, if you order the red book, they're supposed to be here in the next few days. So that's probably what you're waiting on. All right. Thank you guys so much. Y'all been a lot of fun tonight. Josh says for $2. This was a win backroom stream. Do you have a patron saint? Yes, Daniel. Prophet Daniel is my patron saint. I love these kinds of streams. I can't do this theology nerd shit every night. It drives me crazy. Jaylon, $5. Do you think Don, young Don, is kind of slow because he got his thing chopped? Well, I don't know if he seems impressionable because they easily convinced him. So he seems at least very impressionable. But I don't know young Don, so I can't say what all's going on other than like, if you're convincing people to get circumcised, I mean, they don't know nothing about the New Testament. Like they haven't read the book of Acts, Galatians, Hebrews. I mean, guys, thank you so much. If you would hit like and share, tell me more Backrooms